Chapter 1635. The Punishment for 19th Elder 3. All right then. Cheng Xian gave up on trying to gather information. He would find out sooner or later anyway. Then, he turned his eyes to the screen. At this moment, the elders in the forest were already drenched in sweat and sighing. Some of them had even sat down on the ground to rest while Cheng Wu was reprimanding them at the side. Your physical fitness is really bad. How far have you run? You're also tired? Cheng Wu was furious. He even regretted leading the way for them. Based on their running speed, it would be good if they could reach home by night. When the elders heard Cheng Wu's words, although they wanted to retort, their bodies were sore all over and they were too lazy to speak. When Cheng Wu saw their half-dead appearance, the anger in his heart grew even greater. Damn it! All of you stand up! Cheng Wu shouted. However, his words did not receive any response from the elders. Let's rest for a while. We're really tired. The second elder said weakly. He had never thought that he would one day be able to run so far on his legs. It was truly unbelievable. It's already noon. How long do you guys want to rest? Cheng Wu asked with his eyes wide open. He was hungry. Let's rest for a while more. The second elder pleaded. Then you guys should rest first. He'll come back for lunch, so stay here. I hope you'll have recovered by the time I come back in the afternoon. After Cheng Wu finished speaking, he summoned his flying beast and left without looking back. As they watched Cheng Wu's back view, the elders were dumbfounded. Following that, anger surged within them, and they all felt indignant. Second elder, what's the point of leaving us here? He's really too much. The 19th elder was the first to shout. He was also the first elder to collapse from exhaustion. What else do you want? Do you expect him to stay here and accompany us? The second elder was helpless because he had already seen the situation in front of him. He had no choice but to lower his head. But he can't just leave on his own flying beast. Why don't we also take the flying beast back? The 19th elder suggested. You want to be punished. The second elder raised his brows. Based on his understanding of Lung Ruoxue, he had no doubt that Lung Ruoxue's subordinates would treat that wretched girl's words as an imperial edict and would not give them any face. After all, those people were Lung Ruoxue's subordinates, were the Ning family's elders. I don't believe they'll really dare to punish us. The 19th elder disapprovingly said, If you don't believe me, you could try. I won't stop you. The second elder said. He didn't dare to take this risk, but he didn't mind having an elder test it out himself and be the first to eat the crab. Second elder, don't you regret it? The 19th elder couldn't help but remind them. Then he looked at the other elders and said, Do any of you want to go back with me on a flying beast? All the elders looked at each other when they heard this. However, no one dared to respond to the 19th elder's words. In their eyes, even the cautious second elder did not have such an opportunistic idea, so they naturally did not dare to have it. TSK, you bunch of cowards, since you don't want to go back with me on the flying beast, then you can slowly wait here. After the 19th elder finished speaking, he summoned his flying beast and sat on it, then flew directly back to his residence. In the afternoon, when Cheng Wu arrived, he merely glanced indifferently at the elders present before leading them on their way. When the elders saw that Cheng Wu did not seem to have noticed that they were missing a person, they suddenly felt a little regretful. If they had known that this would happen, they would have returned with the 19th elder. It was only in the evening that Cheng Wu brought the elders, who were so exhausted that they were beyond recognition, back to their residence. After that, he arranged for them to go back to their rooms to rest. After bringing the elders back, Cheng Wu returned to his room as well. This made Cheng Xian, who was extremely curious about the punishment the 19th elder would receive, feel as if a cat was scratching his heart anxiously. However, seeing that Cheng Wu and the others were fine, he could not calm down no matter what. His eyes were fixed on their every move. Young Master Cheng, it's time to sleep. After dinner, Cheng Wu looked at Cheng Xian, who wanted to say something but was hesitating, and said with a smile, Did you guys forget to do something? Cheng Xian said very implicitly, What is it? I only know that we should go to bed. We have to wake up early tomorrow. Cheng Wu played dumb and entered his room after he finished speaking. Seeing this, Cheng Xian had to turn his eyes to Fengde, who knew that Fengde just yawned and then went to sleep in his room. Rest early. Ziyu patted Cheng Xian's shoulder sympathetically and then left. Seeing that everyone in front of him had left one by one, Cheng Xian, who felt that it was uninteresting, could only return to his room sulkily. However, there was a trace of regret left in his heart. Late at night, the moon hung high in the sky, and a dark cloud was slowly floating over from the distance. At this moment, a black figure flashed into the room of the 19th elder. After the tall figure entered the room, he stood by the bed and looked at the sleeping 19th elder. A wicked smile appeared on his charming face. Then he said softly, "Gray Eagle, come out." As soon as he finished speaking, a quivering gray eagle appeared in front of the man. "We pay our respects to the Lord," the gray eagle said in a low voice. Its huge body was trembling, and its head was lowered. It did not dare to look up at the person in front of it. "Do you know why I called you out?" The black figure, who was Mou, asked with a faint smile. "I don't know. Please give me your orders, my lord." The giant gray eagle wanted to cry, but had no tears. This lord is giving it a lot of pressure. Although it did not know what this lord's true form was, it could feel that the lord's bloodline pressure was definitely something that only the top beast would have. Therefore, it did not dare to resist Mou's words. "You did something wrong today, do you know that?" Mou suddenly said with a straight face. "Arg, little beastie didn't do anything." The gray giant eagle's heart trembled as a trace of fear spontaneously arose from the bottom of its heart. "You still dare to say you didn't do anything? You flew back with this guy this afternoon, right?" Mou pointed at the 19th elder who was lying on the bed. "Why, yes. He's my master. I don't dare to disobey his orders." The giant gray eagle said in an extremely aggrieved manner. "Woo, that's master's request. How can I refuse? Since that's the case, you can accept the punishment with him." Mou said without any emotion. "Don't, my lord. Spare me." When the gray eagle heard that it was going to be punished, it was so scared that it quickly begged for mercy. Its teary eyes made it look as pitiful as it could be. "Spare you? Do you know that because you listened to your master's words, you caused him to go against the rules set by my mistress? Therefore, he must be punished," Mou said with a cold smile. "And you won't be able to escape." Mou added, "My lord, I know I'm wrong, but he's my master. I have to do whatever he asks me to do. I am also in a difficult position." The giant gray eagle wept. "As a beastie, how can I not understand your difficulties? However, as beastie, we can't be blindly loyal. If we know it's wrong and still help master, then we're not doing it for master's good, but harming master. Do you understand?" Mou lectured. "Yes, my lord. I wonder what you want this little beastie to do." The great eagle asked. "Master, you can't refuse him. I can't afford to offend this man. What should I do?" At this moment, it really wanted to shout, "Why make things difficult for beastie?" However, it did not dare to. "You're quite sensible. In that case, it'll point you in the right direction. From today onwards, you can't agree to anything your master wants you to do for training. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Mou said straightforwardly. "Yes." The gray eagle quickly nodded. As for today's matter, Mou did not finish his sentence. However, the giant gray eagle's heart was in its throat. "This king won't hold you responsible for today's matter. After all, you are following orders. However, your master must be punished, and you are not allowed to interfere." Mou paused on purpose before continuing. Among the old man's beasts, this gray eagle was the highest level, a level 8 saint god beast. The other beasts basically followed this gray eagle's lead. Therefore, as long as he warned this gray eagle, it was equivalent to intimidating all of the old man's beasts. Otherwise, he would not have called this gray eagle out alone. Yes, the gray eagle had no choice but to lower its head under Mou's pressure. "Let's return. Don't come out when there's nothing important," Mou ordered domineeringly. "My lord, little beastie will take my leave." The gray eagle lowered its head and returned to the beastie dimension. With this lord here, it would not dare to come out even if it was beaten to death. After the gray eagle disappeared, Imoyu looked at the 19th elder who was lying on the bed. A profound smile appeared on his lips as he muttered to himself, "Honorable 19th elder, it's your turn." After saying that, a transparent bubble appeared in Moyu's hand. He placed the bubble on the 19th elder's body. In the blink of an eye, the 19th elder fell asleep in the bubble. Then, Moyu disappeared from the room. After a short while, Moyu arrived outside a cave in the forest. The cave was unusually large, and the entrance of the cave was nearly 2 meters wide. As soon as Moyu released his aura, he heard the sound of running, which was as loud as thunder, coming from the cave. Then, a few huge yellow bears appeared in front of Moyu. "My lord!" The giant bears bowed to Moyu respectfully, then knelt in front of Moyu like a well-behaved wife. "I'm going to give him some punishment. You guys have fun. Just leave some breath." Moyu passed the bubbles in his hand over and instructed. Chapter 1636, Special Training 1. Yes. The leading giant bear carefully took the bubble and said with a trembling voice. After that, Moyu disappeared in front of the huge yellow bears. Looking at the bubble in the giant bear's paw, the leader of the bears frowned with a troubled expression. He did not know what to do with the bubble. The other bears were also staring at Bubbles in confusion. This bubble was very transparent and looked very thin. He didn't know if he would be accidentally broken by them. And the man who was still sound asleep in the bubble, he looked so small. A curious little bear reached out its paw and poked at the bubble. The leading bear was unable to stop it in time, and its face turned pale with fright. However, the bubble did not burst miraculously. Instead, it was very elastic and caved in along the little bear's paw. The little bear laughed happily when it saw this. "Grandma, this is so interesting," Little Bear said with a smile. "My child, be careful, don't break the bubbles. Otherwise, that lord will blame us." The leader, Grandma Xiong, said with a worried look. "Grandma, what was there to be afraid of? Didn't that lord tell us to have fun? Well, just leave this human with one breath." Little Bear said disapprovingly. It was at the age where it was fun and active. There was usually no entertainment at home, so now that a toy had suddenly appeared, of course it was not willing to let it go. But Grandma Xiong was still a little worried. "Grandma, if we don't do what that lord said and teach this human a lesson, he might blame us." Little Bear said, "Yeah, all right then. However, don't be too heavy-handed. In case this human is really toyed to death, we won't be able to explain it to that lord." Grandma Xiong warned. "Don't worry, Grandma. We know our limits." Little Bear promised. That's good." After Grandma Xiong finished speaking, she brought her children back to the cave. After entering the cave, it placed a bubble on an open space, then closed its eyes and went to sleep. Little Bear, on the other hand, brought along a few smaller bears and circled around Bubbles curiously. "Sister, is this a human?" The smallest bear blinked its clear eyes and asked with great interest. "Yup," Little Bear nodded. "Is he a female like us?" The smallest bear asked again. I don't know." Little Bear scratched his head and said, a little embarrassed, "Silly child, this human is a male." A female bear heard her children's discussion and walked over with a smile. This female bear was their mother. "Thanks, Ark." "Really?" Little Bear was very surprised. She stuck 2 fingers into the bubble and lifted the blanket covering the 19th elder. Little Bear looked around with curiosity and then pulled up Elder 19's clothes. Although they were separated by the bubble, when Little Bear pulled on it lightly, a pop could be heard. The 19th elder's clothes were torn in half, and the 19th elder's body was exposed, with more than half of his chest exposed. It's really a male." Looking at the 19th elder's flat chest, Little Bear said with certainty after confirming. "Ha ha! Silly child, didn't I tell you?" The mother bear laughed happily when she saw her child's silly look. Little Bear smiled a little embarrassedly. "Who asked it to be more curious?" "Sister, it's a male without breasts? Then am I also a male?" The smallest bear said. Little Bear listened to his sister's words and felt that they made sense. In order to further verify 19th Elder's gender, he directly used his 2 claws to pinch 19th Elder's pants and pull them down, exposing 19th Elder in front of the bears. The little bears immediately widened their eyes and observed carefully. They looked at the obvious characteristics of 19th Elder and then looked at their own. Finally, they confirmed that 19th Elder was indeed a male. It was different from them. When the female bear saw 19th Elder's naked body, she smiled shyly. She couldn't help but think to herself, although this human's body isn't very good, and he's not as strong as my husband, he's still a man. Seeing him reminded me of my missing husband. Woo, why is my life so hard? The female bear reproached herself and looked at the 19th Elder with a resentful gaze. At this moment, the 19th Elder, who was in a daze from sleep, felt a cold sensation on his body and woke up with a start. When he opened his dazed eyes and saw a few giant bears in front of him, he was so shocked that he suddenly woke up completely. Where was this place? Wasn't he sleeping in his own room? 19th Elder felt that something was wrong. He looked around and suddenly realized that he was not in his room, but in a cave. Not only that, but he was also covered in a bubble. Fuck, who did this? The 19th Elder was furious. A light blue divine power escaped from his fingertips and flew towards the bubble like lightning. However, the bubble did not shatter as he had expected. The 19th Elder was dumbfounded. Fuck, what the hell is this? His shunned power couldn't break it? He was a divine emperor. This hurt his self-esteem too much. Just as the 19th Elder was sulking, he suddenly felt an unusual gaze. He looked up at the owner of the gaze and found that it was a female bear, and the female bear was looking at him affectionately. Instantly, Feng Die's words came to his mind. The hungry female beasts in the forest will be very happy. Suddenly, his face turned pale with fright, and he jumped up in shock. He wanted to find a place to hide, but he clearly found that. The bears' gazes on him seemed to become deeper. Not only that, but they all seemed to be staring at the same body part. 19th Elder lowered his head subconsciously, but he felt the world spinning. Then, an earth-shattering scream came out of 19th Elder's mouth. Arg, you bunch of lecherous bears. The 19th Elder was both embarrassed and angry. Her voice was so loud that it scared away countless birds and beasts. Even the sleeping Grandma Xiong was awoken. What are you arguing about? You dare to disturb my sleep, human. Are you tired of living? Grandma Xiong opened her large eyes and scanned Elder 19th's body in an extremely calm manner. She was used to this. You, how dare you? You actually dared to capture me and bring me here. Do you know who I am? The 19th Elder was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He trembled as he picked up the torn cloth on the ground and covered his important parts. He roared in anger. Chapter 1637. Special Training 2. Who has the time to care about your identity? Besides, we didn't capture you. Grandma Xiong said indifferently as she lifted her eyelids slightly. In her heart, she was full of contempt for 19th Elder's actions. What's there to cover? Her figure isn't that great. I want to see it. If you guys didn't catch me, did I come here by myself? 19th Elder was furious. At this time, he held the torn cloth in front of him, looking like a poor little thing who had been ravaged. Unfortunately, these bears did not know how to show mercy to women. It really is. I've heard that humans have a term called sleepwalking. I guess you're suffering from this illness. Grandma Xiong said with a serious face. She was an old fox, so she naturally didn't dare to betray that lord. So she could only fool this human. You? Good. Even if I sleepwalked here, what's with my clothes and this bubble? Don't tell me that I made this myself. 19th Elder was so angry that he was incoherent, and his face was flushed red. There were already bubbles when you came. Grandma Xiong said, avoiding the main point. You tore your own clothes. Little Bear added. It didn't dare to let this human know that it was it who had ruined its clothes, so it could only push the blame to this unlucky human. You guys are really going too far. The 19th Elder was so angry that his anger rushed to his head, and he roared. We don't bully people. It's the humans who bully us. Grandma Xiong said with an aggrieved expression. Then, she said earnestly, AI, human, I've heard that the person involved doesn't know what he or she has done when he or she is sleepwalking. So, I can understand if you don't want to admit what you have done, but you can't blame us for what you have done, right? We're very aggrieved. It is no wonder some beasts always say that humans are the worst. They want to find someone to take the blame for their own actions. Little Bear's face was full of disdain. Unexpectedly, it stretched out its huge bare paw and slapped 19th Elder's white and fat butt. A paw. Sound was heard. With a crisp sound, a few red claw marks were left on the 19th Elder's snow-white buttocks. At the same time, the 19th Elder's scream resounded through the clouds. Arg, you lecherous bear! The 19th Elder was both embarrassed and angry. He wanted to show off his might as a divine emperor, but he was blocked by that damn bubble that came out of nowhere. Why were the bears able to reach their paws into the bubble, but his hand couldn't? Moreover, when his shun power met this annoying bubble, it was like hitting cotton, making him feel powerless. Old man, how am I lecherous? I only hit your butt. Why are you making such a fuss? Little Bear said, feeling wronged. Human, you're too restless. To be honest, we beastie don't like your figure. So don't worry, my granddaughter will never have any improper thoughts about you, Grandma Xiong said with certainty. However, Grandma Xiong's words deeply provoked the 19th Elder. Fuck, he said that he was not calm. How could he be calm? If he could, he really wanted to rush in front of that old bear and ask him what was wrong with his body. What's wrong? No matter what, he was still a deity emperor. However, he was now being looked down upon by a few small beasts. This had dealt a huge blow to his self-esteem. If he wasn't trapped by this damned bubble, he would definitely not hesitate to teach these bears a lesson. Unfortunately, judging from the current situation, he didn't seem to have a chance. This made him feel deeply depressed. Seeing that 19th Elder did not respond for a long time, Grandma Xiong thought that he was reflecting on his actions. She nodded in satisfaction and closed her eyes again. Little Bear saw that Grandma had fallen asleep again and was afraid of waking it up. So he carried Bubbles out of the cave they usually slept in and went to another connected cave. Hee, you can stay here. However, remember to keep it down and don't wake my grandmother up. Otherwise, I'm afraid your big ass will be beaten again. Little Bear reminded him with a smile. Little Bear's words made the dejected 19th Elder suddenly raise his head. Looking at the dark cave in front of him, he suddenly felt afraid and uneasy. Whoa, it's so dark here. Where's this place? I don't want to stay here. The 19th Elder shouted. He clenched his fists and kept hitting the bubble, trying to get out. Unfortunately, the bubble was very elastic and he couldn't break it at all. Thanks, this is also my home. So you should stay here obediently. I'll come to see you tomorrow. Little Bear said very kindly. No, I don't want to stay here. The 19th Elder shouted at the top of his voice. You're too noisy, Little Bear said impatiently. Then he stretched out his fist and ruthlessly punched 19th Elder's head. The next second, 19th Elder fell limply into the bubble. You really can't take a beating. Little Bear couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the unconscious 19th Elder. After muttering to himself, Little Bear patted his butt and left. After a long time, the unconscious 19th Elder slowly regained consciousness. However, when he woke up, he could clearly feel a pair of huge furry claws stroking his naked body. They didn't even let off the important parts. Immediately, his hair stood on end, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted again. The next morning, Fonda and the others gathered in a group. After counting the number of people, they pretended to be surprised to find that one person was missing. 19th Elder, you're late again? Fonda, she said angrily. Second Elder, they'll have to trouble you to call for the 19th Elder. Looking at the confused expressions of the elders, Chung Wu instructed. In. The second Elder unwillingly nodded and turned to head to the 19th Elder's house. Not long after, he came out alone. The 19th Elder is not here. The second Elder reported. Not here? Could he have escaped? Fonda guessed. I don't think so. I'm afraid he has something urgent to attend to. So he went out. The second elder said quickly. Although he didn't know where the 19th elder had gone, he was sure that the 19th elder wouldn't dare to run away. Unless the 19th elder was confident that he could withstand the patriarch's anger, he wouldn't dare to run away even if he was given 100 guts. Since the 19th elder isn't here, we won't wait for him. The second elder will be leading the team today, so you can set off. Under Feng Da's command, the second elder led the other elders and ran out according to the route they took yesterday. After the elders left, Feng Da and the others gathered in front of the light screen and monitored the elders' every move. In the garden, Cheng Xian sat on the stone chair thoughtfully, frowning and sighing at times, making everyone laugh. I say, young Master Cheng, what are you doing? Feng Da couldn't take it anymore. He didn't think Cheng Xian was a sentimental person. Chapter 1638, Special Training 3. I'm thinking, Cheng Xian said softly, then continued to be at a loss. Oh, what are you thinking about? Feng Da was very curious. I'm thinking, where did the 19th elder go? Cheng Xian said honestly. Then, he had a flash of inspiration and looked at Feng Da and Cheng Wu. Could it be that you're behind the disappearance of the 19th elder? Although he had some doubts, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. After all, he had not forgotten that 19th elder had violated the rules and had to be punished. Could it be that the old man was being punished? We're not that kind of people. After hearing Cheng Xian's words, Feng Da felt very aggrieved, and his eyes were full of resentment, because this really had nothing to do with them. They weren't the ones who did it. Young Master Cheng, you can't wrong us. Cheng Wu said, his eyes glistening with tears. Seeing Feng Da and Cheng Wu's reaction, Cheng Xian was not so sure anymore. Could it be that he had guessed wrong? He immediately felt guilty. Suddenly, Ziya's voice rang in their ears. It seems that there are a lot of fouls today, Ziyu said with a faint smile. His words immediately attracted everyone's attention. For a moment, everyone's eyes turned to the light screen. At this time, on the light screen, at least 1/3 of the elders had left on their flying beasts after running for a while. Among the elders who were left, some were hesitant, some were timid, and did not dare to take advantage of the situation. It was almost evening when they returned to the finish line. Looking at the elders who had returned with them, Feng Da and Cheng Wu sneered in their hearts. Humph. Did those elders who had returned on flying beasts think that they wouldn't find out if they waited for the others to return to the finish line? The elders have worked hard. However, I'm afraid you want a time to rest today. Feng Da said emotionlessly with a faint smile. Arg, why? The second elder was a little puzzled, but he felt even more indignant. Because an elder has broken the rules, all of you must be punished together. Feng Da said with a smile. What evidence do you have to prove that someone of us has broken the rules? An elder who had returned on a flying beast asked guiltily. He was very sure that their actions were very secretive and no one would discover them. Haven't you heard of a saying that goes, if you don't want people to know, then don't do it? However, in order to convince you, they'll still take you to see something. After Feng Da finished speaking, he brought all the elders to the garden. Look at this. Feng Da pointed to a screen. At this time, the screen was replaying the scene of them riding on the flying beast. Suddenly, the elders' faces changed. They never dreamed that their every move was being watched by others. How could this be? Who could be so generous as to be able to monitor the entire forest? Even the top families might not have such a screen, but it had appeared on the godly mainland. Seeing the disbelieving expressions on the elders' faces, Feng Da revealed a smug smile and said with a smile, Are you convinced now? Your every move can't be hidden from us. I'm not convinced. Even if there are elders who have violated your rules, you can't let us elders who haven't violated any rules be punished with them. This is not fair to us. An elder, who had honestly finished the entire journey and was still panting from exhaustion, said with a red face, extremely unconvinced. It's not fair for you to be punished, but do you know what team spirit is? You must know that you're a team. Naturally, you'll have to share your blessings and difficulties together. So if someone breaks the rules, you'll all be punished with them. Only then will you understand the importance of team. In a team, individual honor is nothing. The honor of the whole team is what you work hard for. Originally, I had divided you into 2 teams. If only one team breaks the rules, the other team will not be punished together. However, because of the disappearance of the 19th Elder, the 2 teams will be united. So, no matter who makes a mistake, all of you will be punished together. This is the rule that you must abide by. Fengde explained. After listening to Feng Da's words, all the elders were silent because they were very clear that even if they opposed it, they would not be able to win. As long as the other party brought up their ancestors, they had to accept it obediently. However, at the same time, they could not help but secretly blame Fengde and the others for their treachery. If they had known earlier that the other party could monitor their every move, they would not have let those opportunistic elders implicate them. Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything. Thanks after the elders received their punishment and ran again, the sky was almost bright. After a short rest, they gathered again and began a new day's task. This time, no elders dared to take advantage of the situation because the elders who followed the rules were all staring at some people with wide eyes. Just like that, 5 days passed by quickly. The elders originally needed a day to complete the journey, but now they only needed half a day to complete the round trip. Moreover, many of the elders could clearly feel that their physical strength had improved a lot. With such a feeling, they had fewer complaints. In the past few days, the missing 19th elder had yet to return. However, the elders were not too worried. After all, the 19th elder was a deity emperor. Even though he could only display the strength of a high-level deity here, this was the divine mainland. It would not be easy to hurt the 19th elder. It was precisely because no one was worried about the safety of the 19th elder that the poor 19th elder had been living in an abyss of suffering. Every day, in addition to being endlessly threatened, he was also madly taken advantage of. After the elder's long-distance running had some improvement, Fengde and the others gave them new tasks. From his 6th day onwards, they finished running a few mountains in the morning and were pulled into the forest by Fengde and the others for special training in the afternoon. The purpose of the special training was naturally to cultivate their team ability and team spirit. In the forest, all the elders felt their scalps go numb as they looked at the beast men who had surrounded them and were glaring at them like tigers watching their prey. They wanted to cry, but had no tears. What the hell was this? The beasts that surrounded them were either poisonous insects or snakes. Even if there were a few large beasts, they were all extremely ugly giant lizards. Just looking at them made people feel unhappy. Fengde and the others had actually told them not to hurt these beasts. To put it bluntly, they were not allowed to use divine skills. At the same time, they had to ensure that every elder could return to their residence. No one could fall behind. As long as they thought of what Fengde and the others had said to them, they felt depressed. Woo this? Wasn't this a little too difficult? You're not allowed to use divine skills. He also had to ensure that the elders returned to their residences together. This was simply making things difficult for him. One had to know that the things they were facing now were all poisonous. Not only that, but their medicinal pills had also been confiscated. Wasn't this playing with their little lives? Although the elders were depressed, they had no choice but to be on high alert. After looking at each other with a tacit understanding, they stood back to back and stared at the beasts in front of them, who were eyeing them covetously. Most of these beasts were poisonous snakes, followed by poisonous scorpions. The one in charge of commanding them was actually a white scorpion lying on the head of a big snake. That white scorpion was very different from the rest. Its entire body was pure white, and its abdomen was transparent. One could clearly see the blood vessels inside. It had a pair of bright red eyes, like 2 crystal rubies, inlaid in its head. It was very beautiful. The elders and the orcs stared at each other for a while. Then they heard the white scorpion screech twice. In an instant, the horde of poisonous snakes and scorpions began to move. Second elder, what do we do? Looking at the poisonous beasts that were rapidly attacking them, Some of the elders' legs had already begun to tremble. Whoa! Why were they not allowed to use divine skills? If he could use divine skills, what would these little bugs be? What else can we do? Of course, it was to attack. Find a chance and run, the second elder said, somewhat exasperated that they had failed to live up to his expectations. A few poisonous beasts had scared them. He was really useless. Second elder, those hateful guys won't allow us to use divine skills. They'll be monitoring us. An elder warned, you're not allowed to use divine skills. It's not like you're not allowed to use weapons. The second elder said unhappily, although they couldn't use divine skills and the power of their weapons would be greatly reduced, it wasn't a problem to stay alive. Don't just stand there, attack. Seeing that the venomous beasts were already within reach, the second elder hurriedly urged them on, and the long sword in his hand was already swinging towards the venomous beasts. When the other elders saw this, they also followed suit and slashed at the poisonous beasts with their weapons. They had been cultivating for many years, so their weapons naturally had a trace of ruthlessness. When the ruthlessness hit the thick-skinned poisonous beasts, many of them died instantly, but more and more poisonous beasts rushed forward. Countless poisonous beasts had died, but the elders had also paid a heavy price. After being bitten by the poisonous beast, many elders showed signs of poisoning to varying degrees. Some of the elders with weaker resistance even fainted directly. Seeing this, the second elder who was in charge of leading the team immediately became anxious. Chapter 1639, The Orcs Tag Team Battle 1, Second Elder. Some of the elders have already fainted. An elder reminded, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and carry the unconscious elders and help the poisoned elders to retreat. The second elder was sweating profusely. To be honest, since he was born, he had never encountered such an urgent situation. The reason for this situation was not because they were weak, but because some damn guy had imposed restrictions on them. If they violated the rules again, then what kind of punishment would await them? Therefore, no matter how urgent the situation was, he could only do things step by step. He did not even dare to think about taking advantage of the situation. Good. However, with so many poisonous beasts here, I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to leave safely. The elder said. As he spoke, he carried the elder who was the closest to him and had passed out. You guys go first. I'll think of a way to stall these beasts. The second elder said without even thinking. Second elder, please be careful. We'll come back for you after we've sent them to a safe place. After the elder finished speaking, he gave the other elders a look and took advantage of the gap to rush out like an arrow. The other elders saw this and followed suit. In the blink of an eye, most of the elders had already rushed out of the circle of poisonous beasts. After the white scorpion on the snake's head realized the elder's intentions, it immediately let out a few long screeches. Then, a portion of the poisonous beast chased after the elder who had escaped. You little bastards, come at me. Come and bite me. Suddenly, the second elder's loud and provocative voice rang out as he waved his sword at the white scorpion from time to time. Just as he had expected, his actions had attracted the attention of all the poisonous beasts, especially the small white scorpion. Most of the poisonous beasts that were attacking them were not very intelligent. Many of them did not even have spiritual intelligence. They only relied on their instincts to follow the orders of the white scorpion. Therefore, the second elder was trying so hard to attract the attention of the white scorpion. His main purpose was to anger the white scorpion so that it would focus all its attention on him. This way, he could buy time for the other elders. Moreover, he could see that this little white scorpion's intelligence wasn't very high, so he didn't believe that he, a human who had lived for so many years, would be played in the hands of a little scorpion. Just as the second elder had expected, after the white scorpion was provoked, it ordered all the poisonous beasts to attack the second elder. When the other elders came back to help the second elder, they saw the second elder holding a long sword and slashing at the poisonous beasts. In an instant, the elders' momentum was greatly boosted. They also picked up their weapons and slashed a bloody path through the poisonous beasts, making a peace with the second elder. Second elder, you've worked hard. All the elders were extremely excited. Why are you back so soon? Are the other elders safe? The second elder asked worriedly. Second elder, don't worry. They are very safe now. An elder hurriedly said, Good. We'll find a good opportunity to leave this place immediately. We'll be at a disadvantage if we fight these little beasts. The second elder sighed. These poisonous beasts seemed to be increasing in number, and this was not good. If the battle continued, the longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. And the elders nodded. Then, a few of them attacked the poisonous beasts in one direction. They looked at each other, and the weapons in their hands blocked and slashed left and right. They did their best to break out of the encirclement. Without the injured elder dragging them down, their running speed increased a lot. More importantly, after the little white scorpion saw them run away, it did not order the poisonous beast to chase after them. Instead, it softly cried twice and disappeared into the forest with the poisonous beasts. However, the second elder and the others did not know about this. After the second elder and the others rushed to the place where the injured elders were hiding, they supported them on their backs and brought them back to their residence. Thanks, Fonda and the others were already waiting for them outside the door. Looking at the embarrassing state of the elders, Fonda and the others laughed and said, Your performance in today's special training was not too bad, just a little slow. The elders, who were half dead from exhaustion and still had the stench of the poisonous beasts on their bodies, almost fainted from anger when they heard this. What kind of person was this? How could there be such a detestable person in this world? The elders couldn't help but think in their hearts, but no one opened their mouths to speak. Seeing that they didn't react, Fonda smiled and said, However, you guys are really stupid. Why don't you know how to use your own beastie? Ugh. Fonda's words immediately made the elders dumbfounded. They could use beasties? They didn't expect. They only knew not to let them use their godly skills, but they had completely forgotten to use their beasts. Whoa, what a bunch of hateful guys. They had finally returned, and now they remembered to remind them. The elders were indignant. After glaring at Fonda and the others, they returned to their own houses. Looking at the closed door, Fonda felt wronged and couldn't help but say, I haven't finished yet. I was going to ask them if they needed the antidote, sigh. Hearing what Fonda seemed to be talking to himself, Chung Xian, who was standing on the side watching the show, couldn't help but laugh. Now he was really in awe of Fonda and the others. How could there be such a person with such a bad taste? Fortunately, he wasn't an elder of the Ning family. Otherwise, he would probably be angered to death. It seemed that these elders of the Ning family had a good mental quality. At least, they hadn't been angered to death so far. It was just that he didn't know how long they could hold on. Fonda rolled his eyes at Chung Xian and was about to lead everyone back to the main residence when the door to the second elder's room suddenly opened. The second elder and a few other elders walked out and stood in front of Fonda. The second elder extended his hand and said, Give me the antidote. Take it, Fonda said as he held back his laughter. He took out a small white jade bottle from his storage ring and handed it to the second elder. The second elder took the jade bottle and turned to leave without even saying a word of thanks. Seeing this, Fonda was very disapproving and entered the main house with the people around him. The next day, after the second elder led the other elders to finish their routine long run, they were brought to the forest for special training. This time, Fonda clearly told them that the rules were the same as yesterday, and they were not allowed to use their own beasts. After hearing Fonda's words, none of the elders spoke. However, compared to yesterday, they were much calmer. It was obvious that they were mentally prepared. Looking at the silent elders, Fonda's mood was also good. He smiled and said, Elders, have fun in the forest. By the way, don't go to the north of the forest. There's an illusionary realm there. If you're trapped inside, no one can take you out except my young lady. Chapter 1640, The Orcs Tag Team Battle 2. After that, Fonda patted his butt and left. After Fonda left, All the elders stared at each other as they waited for the poisonous beast from yesterday to appear. However, they did not see a single poisonous beast until dark, which made them feel at a loss. Fuck, the sky was already dark. What was going on? Some of the more irascible elders had already become impatient and couldn't help but curse in their hearts. Second elder, it's already dark. The special training hasn't started yet? An elder asked in a soft voice. Let's wait. The second elder felt helpless too, but the special training phone they had mentioned had yet to happen, so he didn't dare to take them back without permission. Otherwise, it would be an excuse for the other party to punish them. He was very cautious now. Second elder, how long do we have to wait? Another elder asked. After yesterday's incident, the second elder's status in their hearts had risen a lot. In the past, they respected the second elder because of his status, but now they respected him from the bottom of their hearts. I don't know. Although I don't know what the special training today is about. We can't just go back like this. Otherwise, if the other party says that we didn't complete the task, we will be punished again. The second elder warned him. The second elder's words make sense. All the elders nodded in agreement. Just like that, the second elder and the others who didn't dare to go back waited at the same place until dawn. They didn't see the shadow of the ghost's special training. When the elders saw this, they had no choice but to go back. Who asked them to run in the morning? If that routine mission was delayed, they would also be punished. After returning to his residence, Fengde and the others waited outside the main residence. Seeing the elders, Fengde held back his laughter and said, "Why did you guys only come back now? What was the special training mission yesterday?" The second elder asked instead of answering. "It's to train your determination and patience." Fengde answered honestly. How do we train? The second elder asked again, the anger in his heart already showing a faint trend of rising. Don't you guys already know? Fengde smiled faintly. However, the smile on his face was extremely annoying in the eyes of the elders. Yes, we already know. The second elder gritted his teeth and said, fuck. He really wanted to curse. So the so-called training of their fortitude and patience was to let them stay in the forest like fools with nothing to do. What kind of bullshit training was this? It was more like he was pranking him. Actually, you guys could have come back last night, but you guys stayed until this morning. Not bad. Fengde complimented without fear of death. We're going for a run. The second elder was furious, but he suppressed his anger. He didn't want to see Fengde and the others right now. Otherwise, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't want to strangle them to death. After saying that, the second elder left with the other elders who were also red-faced. When they came back from their routine run, Fengde ordered the second elder to bring the other elders to the same position as yesterday and continue the special training. But this time, the second elder had learned his lesson. In the evening, he brought the elders back to their residence. A week later, thanks the elders were already used to this kind of training. Therefore, after running a few mountains, the second elder would bring the other elders to the location of their special training without Fengde's instructions. The reason why he took the initiative was not only because he did not want to give the other party an excuse to punish them, but also because he did not want to see Fengde and the others, because those people were too despicable. In the garden of the main residence, through the screen, Changxian saw that the elders had arrived at their destination and each found a place to sit down. However, what made him feel strange was that the situation had been like this for the past few days. Did Fengde and the others plan to let them continue like this? To be honest, based on his understanding of Fengde and the others, he would not think that things would be so simple even if he was beaten to death. Do you guys have any backup plans? Changxian couldn't suppress his curiosity and asked, "What do you think?" Fengde asked with a faint smile. "Definitely. Can you tell me what it is?" Changxian said with a fawning expression. "Of course not, but you'll find out soon enough," Fengde said with a mysterious look. After that, he turned around and left the garden. Fengde left the garden and went straight out of the main residence. He went around to the back of the main residence and took out a small house from his storage ring and placed it on the open space. This house was lent to him before the mist went into seclusion. The tenants inside were the Dark Tiger King's family and its subordinates, who had been sticking to the Mississippi. Now, Fonda intended to borrow them. Fonda walked into the house and saw the Tiger King's family lying in the garden, basking in the sun. From time to time, painful screams could be heard from one of the rooms. Suddenly, Fonda's forehead was full of black lines. Tiger King. Fonda greeted him with a smile. "You're here." The dark Tiger King lifted his eyelids and said indifferently, "Yes, I am. The Tiger King. I'm here to borrow your subordinates." Fonda said directly, "You're only borrowing them? You're not going to lend it to me?" The dark Tiger King said with a hint of resentment. Its large face revealed an expression of being wronged. "I'm going to lend them to the Ning family's elders for special training," Fonda said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Of course, he also wanted to borrow the Tiger King. However, he was afraid that the Tiger King would not agree, so he did not ask. "They're a little weak. Will the Ning family's elders be afraid?" The dark Tiger King warned as it glared with its large eyes. "Mrs. set a rule for them. They are not allowed to use divine skills and beasts," Fonda said with a smirk. "I see. Actually, I can also help them with their special training. I'm a little free recently." The dark Tiger King Mao Long recommended himself. "That's great. In fact, I've also gathered a lot of beasts in the forest, but some of them can't be put on the table, so I wanted to use the Tiger King's subordinates to raise my level. Now that the Tiger King is willing to help, the Ning family elders will definitely be grateful to tears," Fonda said happily. He was more than happy that this tiger was willing to interfere in this matter. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that their beasts were all cultivating, he wouldn't have had any ideas about the Tiger King and the other beasts. "Hee, my subordinates will be very happy as well, but you have to tell me the rules of this special training." The dark Tiger King laughed as it patted Fonda's shoulder with its huge claws, as if they were good brothers. And Fonda nodded. Then he told the dark Tiger King about the rules set by his young lady in detail. After he finished speaking, he led the dark Tiger King and its subordinates out of the house before turning around and returning to the main residence. As the sky gradually darkened, the elders who had been waiting for half a day saw that their task for the day had been completed and were ready to return to their residences. Chapter 1641. The Orcs Tag Team Battle 3. However, they had only taken 2 steps when they felt the sky suddenly turn dark. They raised their heads in unison and saw a dark cloud blocking their heads. "Second Elder, it looks like it's going to rain. We have to go back quickly," an elder warned. And the second elder nodded. Suddenly, he saw a pair of green eyes from the corner of his eye. They seemed to be staring at them with ill intentions. His heart tightened, and a sense of uneasiness welled up in his heart. Although he didn't know if this thing had anything to do with those hateful guys, he still didn't believe that those hateful guys would let them go so easily after these few days. So, they've been very vigilant these days. What's that? At this time, some elders also noticed that something was wrong. "Be careful, everyone," the second elder hurriedly said. Was the storm that had calmed down finally coming? He pondered in his heart. The cold wind blew at his heart, but it also made his mind unusually clear. At the same time, the green light in the forest became more and more intense, followed by a wild laugh. Then, a black tiger with smooth and shiny fur descended from the sky and stood in front of the second elder and the others. The second elder's eyes widened, and he was speechless. The tiger looked familiar, but he wasn't sure. "What about me?" "Second elder, we've met before. Have you forgotten?" The dark Tiger King chuckled as he revealed a smile. "Yes. I wonder what business you have here." The second elder wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and thought to himself, "Shouldn't this tiger be with that damned girl? Why'd he come here?" "I'm here to assist you in your special training." The dark Tiger King laughed smugly. Special training? The second elder's heart sank. Indeed, nothing good would come out of seeing this tiger. He just didn't know how the tiger was going to give them special training. "MMH, today I brought a lot of subordinates to assist you in your special training. By the way, Fonda told me to tell you that you're still not allowed to use divine skills or beastie during the special training. Moreover, You're also allowed to return to your residence together, and no one is allowed to fall behind. If anyone breaks the rules, then the number of beastie that will come for your special training next time will be twice that of today, yes. So you have to be good. The Dark Tiger King coaxed him in a frightened manner before finally speaking as if he was coaxing a child. The second elder cursed in his heart after listening to the Shadow Tiger King's words. This was too much of a bully. They had tolerated those poisonous beasts before. After all, apart from being poisonous, those poisonous beasts weren't very strong. However, these were all Saint Divine beasts today. Wasn't this playing with their little lives? He really did not know what kind of enmity they had with Lung Roashue for her to treat them this way. I want to know what we can use. An elder couldn't help but ask. At this time, other than the black tiger, the other beasts had all appeared. Moreover, they were all large beasts. Looking at those bloody mouths, his heart had already begun to tremble, and his legs were a little weak. In fact, if he was in a normal state, he would not be afraid of these beasts. However, under the current circumstances, he could not help but be afraid. The Dark Tiger King looked at the elder in disdain before saying, "It seems like you're afraid, haha. Isn't this nonsense? Other than what I said you can't use, everything else can be used." The elder who spoke was extremely embarrassed, and the resentful gazes of the other elders immediately made his old face flush red. At this time, he really wished that there was a hole in the ground to hide in, because he really couldn't remain calm. "Don't worry. We'll show mercy and spare your lives." Seeing the silent elders, the Dark Tiger King explained in an understanding manner. However, it would have been better if it had not said so. Now that it had said it so clearly, it made the elders lose face. If we could fight with real weapons, we wouldn't be afraid of you little beasts. An elder said in an unconvinced manner, "I know you're depressed, but it's useless to say anything now. The rules are set like this, and you have to follow them. You can run, jump, and use weapons, but you can't use divine skills or beastie. So just accept your fate." The Dark Tiger King said with some sympathy, but he thought to himself, this little girl's thinking is really good. Today, he finally had a chance to teach these arrogant human powerhouses a lesson. Just thinking about it made it extremely excited. Moreover, not only was the Dark Tiger King excited, but the beasts that had come with it and the beasts that lived in the forest for a long time were also so excited that they could not be described with words. Following the Dark Tiger King's order, the beasties that appeared immediately surrounded the elders. Immediately after, a few beasties jumped out from the crowd of beasties and pounced towards the elders. Seeing this, the second elder and the others quickly took out their weapons to block the beasts' attacks. At this time, they had already been separated by the beasts. Basically, there were at least 3 beasts fighting in front of each elder. Because they couldn't use divine skills, their weapons couldn't cause any serious damage to these large beasts. At most, they could leave a shallow mark on their thick fur. These beasts seemed to be playing with them and didn't really hurt them. But even so, after dozens of rounds, the elders were all sweating and panting, and some of them were even injured. "Thanks, second elder. What do we do now?" An elder sent a message to the second elder. "If you get the chance, everyone run. We'll wait at the usual place." The second elder replied. As he spoke, he had to continuously dodge the attacks of the beastie that surrounded him. However, what made him angry was that the beast that had surrounded him had jumped out of the battle circle after dozens of rounds of stalemate with him. Immediately after that, more beasts would jump out and continue to fight with him. Seeing this scene, the second elder was filled with hatred. This was clearly a tag team battle. It was so unfair. Sensing the second elder's anger, the Dark Tiger King, who was watching from the side, shouted, "Everyone, don't tire yourself out. They won't be able to escape. If you're tired, you can rest and give the other beastie a chance to fight." The Dark Tiger King's words made all the elders present deeply experience what it meant to be shameless. Fuck, this was truly shameless. How could there be such a shameless beastie? At this moment, they had just witnessed the birth of a group of shameless beasts. However, no matter what they were thinking, the Dark Tiger King did not care, because it was having a lot of fun. It stretched out its huge claws. Pa! Pa! After a series of slaps, the elders closest to it were all hit hard on the buttocks. It was so painful that they jumped 3 times. Ark, you're too shameless. What's going on? An elder exclaimed. His voice attracted the attention of some elders who were not sure what was going on. What's wrong? The second elder quickly asked. That tiger touched my butt, the elder who called out said in embarrassment. After hearing this, the second elder's forehead was filled with black lines, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Fuck! He thought something big had happened. He really couldn't stay calm. When the Dark Tiger King heard the elder's words, it said with an aggrieved expression, Don't wrong me. I have a wife. Why would I touch your butt? Could it be that your butt is easier to touch than my wife's? I'm very picky about buttocks. Ha ha ha. The Dark Tiger King's words caused the beasties to burst out in laughter. The second elder and the rest want to find a hole to hide in because this was simply too embarrassing. The beasties continued to play with the second elder and the rest, while the elders panted as they defended against the damned beasties' sneak attacks, while looking for an opportunity to escape. This made them feel extremely nervous. Suddenly, a few of the beasties' defenses showed a gap. Seeing this, the second elder ran in that direction as fast as lightning, while shouting, This way! Seeing this, the other elders did not dare to delay. They did their best to get rid of the beastie that was pestering them and ran behind the second elder. In an instant, all the elders had broken out of the encirclement. King, they've all run away. A yellow leopard reported as it arrived in front of the Dark Tiger King. They're running pretty fast. Let's chase them. The Dark Tiger King laughed evilly and waved its huge claws before leading the way in the direction of the second elder and the others. The second elder and the rest ran all the way until they could not run anymore. They had no choice but to stop. However, they soon realized that they were lost. Second elder, where is this? An elder asked in a daze. He even turned his head back from time to time. Only when he was sure that those beasts had not chased after him did he temporarily relax. I don't know, but we have to get back to our residence as soon as possible. Otherwise, if those beasts catch up to us, we'll be played to death by them. The second elder replied with a slight headache. The beasts would not kill them, but they would tire them to death. The elders had no objections to the second elder's words. After resting for a while, they continued to move forward. Chapter 1642, Illusory Sky. 1. As the second elder and the others walked, the sky grew darker and darker. The dark clouds in the sky had already completely blocked the moonlight above them. Immediately after, a few bolts of lightning accompanied by dark purple lightning resounded in their ears. Second elder, it's going to rain. Let's find a place to hide from the rain. An elder reminded. Let's first find a way back to our residence. The second elder sighed and said helplessly. Right now, all he could think about was the mission tomorrow. How could he care about taking shelter from the rain? And he didn't know if that infuriating special training, just now, could be considered a pass. Sigh. When he encountered those guys who didn't play by the rules, he clearly found that he was useless. Only the word aggrieved could describe his current mood. However, as soon as the second elder finished speaking, hailstones the size of chicken eggs fell from the sky and hit them. Although they were at least divine emperors and their divine bodies were strong and tough, the hailstones were not ordinary. They felt pain when they were hit by the hailstones. If they were not careful, there would be a few big bumps on the head of an elder, which showed the power of the hailstones. Let's find a place to hide, the second elder said hurriedly. He didn't expect to encounter such a huge hailstorm in the godly land. They were so unlucky. When the elders heard the second elder's words, they quickly released their divine senses to investigate. Then, they said in unison, There's a cave less than 1,000 meters from here. Let's go there and hide. After saying that, the elders ran towards the cave together. At the entrance of the cave, the elders walked in directly. The cave they found was very large, and it was very dry inside. After entering, they each found a place to sit down. The elders sighed and were not in a good mood. Suddenly, they heard a series of soft moans coming from the depths of the cave. All the elders immediately went on high alert. Why are there people here? The second elder's face was full of question marks. He had just checked, and there was clearly no aura of living things here. So where did this groan come from? I don't know. Second elder, let's go in and take a look. An elder's curiosity was piqued, and he incited the second elder. Seventh elder, 11th elder, the two of you go in first to explore the way. If there's any danger, call us immediately. The second elder said after some thought. He didn't dare to let all the elders follow in. What if they were all trapped inside? Therefore, he arranged for 2 elders who were always cautious to go in first. And the 2 elders who were called out nodded their heads. Then, they looked at each other and walked into the depths of the cave, one after another. Not long after, the 2 of them had returned, and their expressions were very ugly. Seeing that the 2 elders had returned safe and sound, the second elder was relieved. Thanks, second elder. We have something to tell you. The 7th elder looked at the second elder with a troubled expression. What's the matter? The second elder was confused. Seeing this, the 7th elder and the 11th elder pulled the second elder to a corner and said helplessly, Second elder, that groan just now was made by the 19th elder. Who did you say? The second elder's eyes widened as he looked at the 7th and 11th elders in disbelief. He thought to himself, are you sure? It's the 19th elder. There's another cave in the depths of this cave, and 19th elder is locked up there. The 7th elder explained very carefully. Although he didn't know why the 19th elder was there, the person who had locked the 19th elder up there could make their spiritual awareness unable to detect the situation in the cave. From this, it could be seen what kind of strength that person had. It was terrifying to think about. He really didn't know what kind of strong enemy the 19th elder had provoked. Arg, then why didn't you guys save him? The second elder was surprised. We didn't dare. The 19th elder seems to have provoked a powerful enemy, so we came back to discuss with the second elder to see what we should do. The 7th elder said helplessly. They were not willing to provoke such a powerful enemy. At the same time, they were also afraid of bringing endless trouble to the Ning family. Therefore, they did not dare to take the liberty to bring the person back, although the 19th elder was not guarded. Don't think about those useless things first. Let's bring him back first. The second elder made the final decision. In his opinion, no matter how strong the other party was, since the 19th elder had already provoked them, they would not be able to avoid it. Moreover, the Ning family was not afraid of trouble. Letting their own elder fall into the hands of an outsider would not be good for the reputation of the Ning family. Therefore, even if it was just for the face of the Ning family, he had to bring the person back. As for how to deal with the second elder at that time, it would be their internal affairs. And the 7th elder and the 11th elder nodded. Then, they turned around and walked into the depths of the cave. However, when they brought the 19th elder back, all the elders, including the second elder, were stunned in disbelief. Fuck, what was this thing? The 7th elder was holding a transparent bubble the size of a watermelon in his arms, and in that bubble was the 19th elder of the Ning family, who had been missing for many days. However, this 19th elder's appearance was really miserable. He was completely naked, and his body was covered with large and small blue and purple claw marks. His appearance was also particularly haggard, and his eyes were dull. No one knew where his gaze had drifted to. His originally white and fat body had become 2 circles thinner, and his general belly had also shriveled. Seeing his current state, the elders could not help but suspect that 19th elder had been taken advantage of. Furthermore, he had been trampled on quite miserably. Suddenly, everyone did not know what to say. All the elders looked at each other, and finally, their gazes all floated to the second elder. The second elder felt extremely depressed when he saw the other elders' gazes. He didn't know what to do in this situation. At the same time, he felt a little resentful. Why didn't the 7th elder and the 11th elder tell him that the 19th elder was in this state? What should he do now? Place him on that large green rock. They'll get rid of the bubbles on his body first. The second elder muttered to himself for a while before pointing to the huge, flat blue stone beside him. And the seventh elder nodded and then placed the bubbles in his arms on the green rock. He really didn't know what to say about the 19th elder's current situation. "All of you back off," the second elder ordered. Then a wind blade appeared in his hand. This wind blade had been created by him using wind divine power. It was extremely sharp. However, when he cut the wind blade at the bubble, which he thought would shatter, only caved in. After a short while, it returned to normal. Chapter 1643. Illusory Sky. 2. Seeing that the first attempt had failed, the second elder continued to slash at it a few more times. However, not a single mark was left on the bubble. Seeing this, the second elder was depressed. "All of you should try too," the second elder said, unwilling to give up. "What the hell is this thing? It's so elastic." The seventh elder's face was full of surprise. One must know that the second elder was a reverent god. If even the second elder couldn't break this bubble, then wouldn't they have even less hope? However, he didn't dare to say this out loud. Following that, the seventh elder was the first to step forward. Bubble didn't give him any face and didn't even cave in. Seeing this, the other elders had no choice but to bite the bullet and try. However, the situation was the same as the seventh elder's. "Second elder, we've tried our best," the seventh elder said. The second elder nodded and did not say anything else. The other elders also fell silent. Just as all the elders were lost in their thoughts, 19th elder suddenly began to scream again. "Arg, go away, you perverts! Don't touch me!" The 19th elder's scream was like a sudden clap of thunder, shaking all the elders present until they broke out in a cold sweat. They all thought in their hearts at the same time that the 19th elder had been ravaged by a bear. He was really too pitiful. However, sympathy was sympathy, but there was nothing they could do. Just like that, along with the occasional shrieks and pained moans of the 19th elder, they finally managed to endure until daybreak. The hailstones also slowly disappeared. However, after the hailstones, there was a continuous drizzle. However, compared to the egg-sized hailstones, they were already very satisfied. Moreover, they had to rush back to their residence as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would not be able to complete today's mission. However, after leaving the cave, they still couldn't find the way home. Even if they used their divine sense to investigate, in the end, they would still return here. This fact made them feel depressed and helpless. At the same time, they also knew that everything they had was within the other party's control. "Let's go back the way we came," the second elder said very unwillingly. At this time, he felt very helpless. He couldn't use the divine skill, he couldn't use the beastie, and even his divine sense couldn't find what they needed. How could this be? He couldn't figure out what methods the other party had used to render them helpless. This was simply too unbelievable. It was also from this moment on that he truly valued Lung, Ruashua, and the others. Although they could not find the way back to their residence, they still remembered the way to this place. However, they were also afraid of encountering those shameless beastie when they returned, so they were on high alert. When they returned to the special training site, they did not find any enemies as they had imagined. Feeling relieved, they ran all the way back to their residence. As for Fonda and the others, they were still waiting for them outside the door. "I'm back." Fonda greeted the elders with a smile when he saw them in a sorry state. "Thanks, Aunt." The elders nodded, but no one dared to say anything. "Hee. Today, you can rest for a day. You don't have to do any more missions," Fonda said with a smile. "Rest? No need. We don't need to rest." The second elder was scared and quickly said after hearing Fonda's words. To be honest, he didn't believe Fonda and the others. He was even more afraid that after they had rested for a day, they would have unknown things waiting for them the next day. Instead of that, they might as well train every day. At least they knew what to do. The other elders had the same thoughts as the second elder. Now that they saw Fonda and the others, they were all a little nervous. They didn't dare to say much, and they didn't dare to accept the benefits offered by the other party. However, it didn't seem good to reject it either. For a moment, the elders were in a dilemma. When Fengde saw the bitter faces of the elders, he laughed in his heart. Were they really that scary? These old and shrewd guys were a little too cautious. It was my latest decision to let you rest for a day. She was afraid that you wouldn't be used to it, so she very humanely arranged for you to rest. Don't be ungrateful, Fengde said with a straight face. Yes, all the elders braced themselves and replied, but they were lamenting in their hearts. That wretched girl had tormented them for so many days. Did she have any humanity? Quickly go back to your room and rest, Fengde urged with a faint smile. However, just as the elders were about to return to their rooms, he suddenly said, "Seventh elder, what's that you're holding in your arms?" This is... The seventh elder didn't know what to say. He had deliberately used his clothes to cover the bubble, and even deliberately hid among the elders. How could he still be discovered? He was depressed. If 19th Elder's current appearance was seen by these hateful guys, what face would 19th Elder have in the future? Let me see. Chengwu walked over and lifted the 7th Elder's clothes. Then he shouted in disbelief, "Heavens! Wasn't this the 19th Elder? How did he end up in the bubble? Where did you guys find him? What was wrong with him? Why are there so many claw marks on his body? Who scratched this?" Chengwu's exclamations drew Fengde and the others over. When they saw the 19th Elder's dazed look, everyone was greatly surprised. This bubble is so elastic. Cheng Xian poked the bubbles with his fingers, having a lot of fun. At this moment, the 19th Elder, who had been in a daze, suddenly screamed out loud, Don't touch me. You perverts! Get away from me! Get lost! All of you get lost! Ugh! When Cheng Xian and the others heard the 19th Elder's clear words, they were dumbfounded. They couldn't help but mutter to themselves, "It seems that the 19th Elder has been bullied by the bear." However, were the bears too blind? Or did they treat the fat 19th Elder as one of their own? They wanted to laugh when they thought of the bear taking advantage of the 19th Elder, because to them, this was a little unbelievable. However, when they saw the darkened faces of the Ning family elders, Cheng Xian and the others tactfully expressed their sympathy, and then discussed with them how to save the 19th Elder. After all, they couldn't let the 19th Elder stay in bubbles forever. The naked 19th Elder also looked quite unsightly. But to everyone's disappointment, after a day of discussion and countless methods, they still couldn't get the 19th Elder out of the bubble. The 19th Elder in the bubble wasn't very clear-headed and would scream from time to time. At first, everyone pitied his encounter and tried to endure it. But slowly, everyone couldn't bear it. A few days passed just like that. The second Elder and the others were training. Although they would occasionally visit the 19th Elder, they no longer had any hope of getting him out. Gradually, their attention on him also decreased. Chapter 1644, Illusory Sky 3. On this day, the second Elder and the others ran back as usual, but suddenly saw the 19th Elder coming out of the room. The elders were stunned for a moment, then reacted, and then they swarmed up and surrounded the 19th Elder. 19th Elder, how did you get out? The second Elder asked curiously. The bubble burst, so I came out. The 19th Elder lowered his head and was in a very low mood. After being brought back by the second Elder and the others, his consciousness was gradually recovering. However, as long as he thought of his own encounters in those days, he could not feel happy. It's good that you've come out. The second Elder didn't know how to comfort the 19th Elder. Now that things had come to this, it seemed unnecessary to say anything. Yup, the 19th Elder. Now that you can come out, you could train with us. The 7th Elder said happily. After these few days of training, he could clearly feel that his physical strength had improved a lot. Moreover, it would only take 2 hours at most to finish running these few mountains. This was something that he would not dare to imagine in the past. Yes, the 19th Elder nodded. He could clearly feel that these elders had changed a lot. 19th Elder, who did you offend? The 11th Elder finally couldn't help but ask. He had wanted to ask this question for a long time, But the 19th elder's mood was sometimes good and sometimes bad, and his mind was also half awake, so he didn't have a chance to ask. I don't know either, the 19th elder said gloomily. If he knew who he had offended, he would have taken precautions long ago and would not have suffered such torture. Since we don't know who we've offended, let's all be more careful in the future to avoid being schemed against behind the scenes. The second elder warned. In fact, he had once suspected that the 19th elder's incident was done by those abominable guys. However, he could not find any evidence. Moreover, after they returned that day, the other party did not seem to know anything. Therefore, he had temporarily ruled out his suspicion of Fonda and the others. However, even so, he felt that those people were the most suspicious. Yes, all the elders agreed with the second elder's words. Furthermore, the incident with the 19th elder had given them a warning. Hence, for a period of time after that, they were all extremely obedient and vigilant. The next day, 19th elder also joined their training. However, Fonda increased the intensity of Elder 19's training. In Fong Da's words, the other elders had been training for the past few days. Although the 19th elder had his reasons, he had to make up for the delay. Otherwise, he would not be able to continue the training. The 19th elder was silent for a long time after hearing this. He didn't say a word, but he did follow Fong Da's instructions obediently. The second elder and the others took the initiative to accompany him to participate in the extra training. Seeing this scene, Fonda didn't stop them, but followed them. However, the actions of the elders touched the 19th elder, and he worked even harder in the training. For a time, the elders' enthusiasm for training was unprecedented. Their active cooperation surprised Fonda and the others, but they were happy to see this situation. Such days continued for half a month. Fonda and the others felt proud when they saw the different looks on the elders' faces. Furthermore, as their training increased, Fonda and Chung Wu decided to give them devil training. Of course, the so-called demonic training was many times more difficult than the previous ones. They had also participated in this demonic training before. However, at that time, they were too weak, so the demonic training couldn't reach a high level. This time, it was different as it was especially targeted at these powerhouses above a mortal emperor. Of course, it was not hard to imagine how terrifying the training would be. On the eve of the demonic training, Fonda went to borrow troops from the Dark Tiger King. After the Dark Tiger King heard Fong Da's intention, it was very enthusiastic to express that it wanted to participate in this demonic training. Who asked it to not have enough fun last time? Since the Tiger King had taken the initiative to request, Fonda naturally had no reason to refuse. Moreover, he wanted the Tiger King to deal with the second elder. Therefore, he immediately agreed. Then, Fonda told the Dark Tiger King about the requirements of the demonic training. After the Tiger King heard it, it was left speechless. It looked at Fonda as if it was looking at a monster. Its face was filled with disbelief. In the end, Fonda was a little embarrassed by the Dark Tiger King's stare, so he could only tell it, "Don't look at me like that. This is Miss Idea. I'm just carrying it out." The Dark Tiger King nodded and replied, "That little girl is a demon. Those elders are really too pitiful to fall into your hands." Fonda smiled and said calmly, "If you pity those elders, then go and keep them company." Thanks, the Dark Tiger King immediately stopped talking. After everything was ready, Fonda and Chung Wu gathered all the elders. After listening to their explanation of the rules of the demonic training, the elders were silent. This so-called demonic training actually allowed them to use all kinds of methods that could be used. What did this mean? Although the elders were not willing to admit it, they knew that the devil training was not simple. "I want to know if this devil training will put our lives in danger," the 19th elder suddenly asked. After the normal training, he had also experienced several special training where the use of divine skills and orcs was not allowed, but those were not life-threatening. However, this devil training was different from the past, so he naturally wanted to ask more clearly. "You will all die," Fonda said with a smile. "What?" All the elders' faces changed drastically. They had never thought that they would hear such words from Feng Da's mouth. They were all divine emperors. If they were all going to die, then one could only imagine how terrifying the training would be. Not only that, but they were also the elders of the Ning family. If something happened to them, it would be a huge loss for the Ning family. Therefore, Feng Da's words made them hesitate. At this time, many elders' eyes turned to Ning Shan, wanting him to say something to stop Feng Da and the others from going crazy. However, Ning Shan turned his head to the other side and ignored their pleading eyes. Seeing this, the elders' hearts clenched. "Are you guys scared?" Feng Da said provocatively when he saw the elders' expressions. "We're not afraid. We just don't want to die in this hellish training. If anything happens to us, the losses to the Ning family will be incalculable." The second elder's face was red as he argued. "Ha ha! The place where you undergo the demonic training is inside a divine artifact. You will die inside, but you will still be alive after leaving that place. You will only suffer some injuries, but there will not be any real danger to your lives." Fonda explained. However, what he didn't say was that everything inside was simulated. Injuries would hurt, and death would be the same. Really, the second elder was doubtful. "Of course, you're all the elites of the Ning family. If you die, what good will it do for us? Don't forget, my young lady is the goddaughter of your ancestor. We're also grasshoppers on the vine, so how can we let you die? This is just training." Fonda promised. Feng Da's words made the second elder nod his head in relief. Then, he asked, "Then to what extent will we be injured?" He didn't care about a small injury, but it was better to figure out first, so as not to be plotted against by these guys. "You will suffer the same kind of injuries as you did during the devil training. However, if you die during the devil training, your injuries will be more serious." Fonda said very implicitly. "Heavy to what extent?" The second elder was shocked. He didn't know why, but he felt uneasy. Hee. At the very most, his strength will just drop." Fonda said with a smile. "Fuck." After hearing Feng Da's words, all the elders cursed in their hearts. What did he mean by at most? It's just a drop in strength. They had cultivated for so many years, and it was not easy for them to have their cultivation today. Was it easy? If they had really been injured in actual combat, they would have accepted it. But now, they might be seriously injured in some bullshit devil training. How could they accept this? Looking at the dark and gloomy faces of the elders, Fonda said with an understanding look, "I know you're afraid and feel that it's not worth it to get injured in this hellish training. However, I want to tell you that this hellish training will bring you endless benefits. As for the benefits, you'll naturally know in the future. In addition, this devilish training was approved by your ancestors, so none of you can run away." Feng Da's words shattered the last hope in the elders' hearts. Moreover, they didn't care much about the empty promise that Fonda had made. The only thing they were concerned about was whether their ancestor had really agreed. Thinking of this, they once again looked at Ning Shan, who had been silent. When they saw Ning Shan nod his head, no matter how unwilling the elders were, they could only accept their fate. Because Ning Shan was now the spokesperson of the old ancestor, Ning Shan would not dare to lie to them. After giving the elders some time to digest this information, Fonda took out a silver ball from his storage ring. The ball was about the size of a baby's fist. It looked crystal clear, and there was a faint silver light flowing on it. It was beautiful. "This is the illusory sky. All of you will be undergoing demonic training here. Other than me, the rest of them will be accompanying you." Fonda pointed at Chung Wu and the rest. Chapter 1645. The Warlike Tiger King, Breakthrough 1. Feng Da's words stunned all the elders. They really didn't understand what Fonda meant by a company. These guys always liked to play word games. Therefore, they didn't dare to easily respond to Fonda and the others' words. Otherwise, they would definitely fall into their trap. This was the conclusion they had come to after suffering many losses. Fonda laughed happily in his heart when he saw the elders' confused faces, but they were all holding back their emotions. These old men had learned a lot. However, this was also good. They didn't have any sense of accomplishment in dealing with them. Now that they were like this, it only aroused their desire to challenge. Although these old men were all top elites in the immortal realm, they were definitely no match for them in terms of trickery, backstabbing, and playing word games. Thus, during this period of time, they had always been played by them in circles. However, they also knew their limits and knew to leave some face for the young lattice godfather. Otherwise, these old men would probably end up in an even more miserable state. Fonda smiled and explained they'll also go in to receive demonic training. The second elder cried out in shock. However, his face turned red soon after. He felt that he was really too flustered. How could he make such a big fuss out of nothing? However, he really didn't expect that the wretched girl would actually let her subordinates undergo some devilish training with them. Was that girl crazy? Actually, what he did not know was that Lung Roashue had always been very strict with the training of her subordinates. Hence, Fonda and the rest had long been used to it. However, Lung Roashue did not allow them to participate in the devil training this time. They had completely taken the initiative to participate, and the reason why they did so was because they were too curious about the fantasy sky. Hee, you can go in now, Fonda said with a smile. Then, he threw the illusionary sky into the air. In an instant, the illusionary sky turned into a ball about the height of a person and landed steadily on the open space outside the main house. Then, a door opened at the waist of the ball, and spiritual chi leaked out from it. The second elder and the others looked at the unfamiliar sphere and hesitated for a moment. However, they still walked in as if they were not afraid of death. Following that, Chung Wu and the others also took large strides and disappeared through the door. Fonda turned his head and looked at Chung Xian and Ning Shan, who were still standing beside him. He smiled and asked, "Aren't you guys going to play?" If it wasn't for the fact that he needed someone to control the situation inside the illusionary sky, he would have gone in. "He'll die," Chung Xian said with a face full of fear. Young Master Chung, haven't you heard that you can't get tiger cubs without entering the tiger's den? The path of cultivation was extremely dangerous. If he didn't even dare to take this little test, how could he become a peerless master? Besides, didn't I say that no one will really die, just lose some cultivation? But if you stay inside for a long time, there will definitely be benefits. Fonda coaxed, "Can you tell me the situation inside?" Feng Da's words made Chang Xian's handsome face blush slightly. However, it was undeniable that he was a little tempted by Feng Da's proposal. However, he did not dare to enter rashly. After all, he was the young master of the Chung family. His life and strength did not completely belong to him. Hee, take a look for yourself. It's really fun inside. Feng Da muttered the incantation, and the illusion that was originally as tall as a person turned into the size of an egg again, and it floated into his hand. Then, Feng Da brought Chung Xian and Ning Shan into the main house. At this time, there were only the three of them in the main residence. The others were either in seclusion with the young lady or had entered the illusion heaven. Therefore, the large courtyard seemed a little deserted. The three of them entered the garden and stopped in front of the light screen. Feng Da placed the fantasy sky on the stone table, and then the figures of the second elder and the others appeared on the light screen. Everyone who had entered the illusionary sky had been separated. The light screen had also been divided into 10 grids, each showing a different situation. The second elder was alone in the illusion heaven. His originally shrewd eyes were still a little confused. Looking at the strange environment in front of him, he could not remember where he was, let alone the purpose of his entry. Thanks, the second elder saw a vast expanse of white in front of him. He walked aimlessly. After walking through the thick fog, a dense forest entered his eyes. As soon as he stepped into the forest, he felt a cold wind blowing at him. Even though he was already a reverent god-level cultivator, the wind still made him feel a little cold. Suddenly, he heard a tiger's roar. The second elder immediately became alert. Immediately after, a huge black tiger leaped out of the forest and pounced at him. The second elder quickly dodged and avoided the tiger's attack. However, when he looked at it, he realized that the black tiger had the strength of a reverent god level. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Fuck. How did he encounter a godly, venerable rank beastie? He was extremely depressed. Although he was also a reverent god-level beast, he didn't have the confidence to win against a beast of the same level, especially the Dark Tiger King, who had always been good at attacking. The second elder wanted to cry, but had no tears as he looked at the Dark Tiger King, who was staring at him arrogantly. However, as a hierarch, he did not want to run away without a fight. It was one thing to be able to defeat them, but if they didn't even have the courage to fight and ran away, it would be too embarrassing for the supreme god. The dignity of a reverent god was inviolable. Therefore, he was going all out. More importantly, he also wanted to test the strength of the Tiger King. After all, a godly, venerable rank beast was something that could only be encountered by luck. It would be a pity to give up such a great opportunity to fight. Besides, he did not think that he was much weaker than the tiger. After making up his mind, the second elder decided to strike first to deal with the tiger. With a thought, a long sword appeared in his hand. The blade of the sword was smooth and clear, and it exuded a cold chill. Immediately after, he poured his wind divine power into the sword and stabbed it at the Dark Tiger King. In an instant, several sword radiances emitting green divine power appeared in the air. The sword radiances gathered in the air and formed the shape of a giant dragon. After drawing a beautiful arc, it flew straight toward the Dark Tiger King's vital points. Seeing this, the Dark Tiger King suddenly grew in size. Its body was almost 10 times larger than it originally was. The giant dragon that the second elder had condensed was like a small green snake in front of the Dark Tiger King. It was not even as thick as one of its claws. The Dark Tiger King stretched out a huge claw that was as large as a pillar and made a few gestures in the air. A few strands of dark divine power floated in the air. Immediately after, the huge dragon that was like a small green snake in front of it was dispersed by its claw. After that, the Dark Tiger King smiled provocatively at the second elder. Then it pounced on the second elder like a ferocious tiger pouncing on its prey. The second elder's weapon was a sword. The Dark Tiger King's most advantageous weapon was its incomparably sharp, large claws. After it transformed into its true form, the might of its claws had increased by nearly 10 times. If these claws were to really land on the second elder's body, even if they could not kill him, they would definitely cause him to be seriously injured. Moreover, the two of them were both reverent god level experts. Chapter 1646. The Warlike Tiger King. Breakthrough 2. As soon as it thought of its current strength being on par with the second elder, the Darkness Tiger King's heart was filled with joy. This time, it could finally satisfy its craving for battle. Generally speaking, other than cultivation, beasts like them, who were known for their offensive strength, loved to fight the most. In battle, not only could they sharpen their fighting spirit, but they could also increase their combat experience. This was of utmost importance to any beast. It was a beast that had merged its passion for battle into its soul. Before it had no wife and children, it had a small battle every 3 days and a big battle every 5 days. There was no time when it did not fight. However, after it got married and had children, it hid its passion for battle in order to have more time to accompany its wife and children. This opportunity was very rare, and it would not make its wife worried. Therefore, it had long made up its mind to fight to its heart's content, so that it would not have come in vain. And the second elder was definitely its best opponent. After the Dark Tiger King pounced on the second elder, its 2 huge claws began to pincer attack from the left and right, heading straight for the second elder's head. When the second elder saw those 2 huge claws that were thicker than his waist, he did not dare to let his guard down in the slightest. Countless illusions appeared around his body, and after a few breaths, the second elder escaped from the tiger's claws. Hee, old man, I didn't expect you to have some ability. The Dark Tiger King, who had never thought that the second elder would be so slippery, said with an excited expression. Aren't you talking nonsense? Our Ning family is the leader of the 8 great divine domains. How could we not have some life-saving ultimate moves? The movement technique he had just used was called Thousand Shadows. It was especially used to dodge when facing an enemy. Although this movement technique only had one ability, it was quite useful when facing an enemy. It should be known that in a battle between experts, the outcome was often decided in the blink of an eye. Therefore, with the existence of chickage, it was equivalent to them having an extra capital to save their lives. Even if they encountered an enemy whose strength was higher than theirs, as long as the difference in strength was not too great, they would be helpless. Old man, continue to receive my attacks, the Dark Tiger King said excitedly. Following that, it extended its 4 claws and charged towards the second elder. Then, one of its claws attacked the second elder's head, while the other claw struck his lower body. Its thick and long tail also swept towards the second elder's body. You despicable tiger! Seeing this, the second elder hurriedly used the chickage movement technique. However, one of his legs was still entangled by the Shadow Tiger King's tail. In the spur of the moment, he wielded his long sword and slashed at the tail. A bang was heard. A crisp sound rang out, and not a single mark was left on the Dark Tiger King's tail. Seeing this, the Dark Tiger King laughed. Old man, your sword is not sharp enough. Let's try my claws. After saying that, the Dark Tiger King's claw clawed at the second elder's chest. Instantly, 5 bloody claw marks appeared on his chest. The second elder was furious as he felt the pain. Once again, he wielded his long sword and slashed at the Dark Tiger King's tail. Right now, he hated the tail of this damned tiger to the bone. If it wasn't for that tail, he wouldn't have been injured. He was scratched by the Dark Tiger King's claws, which were comparable to a divine weapon. His body was burning with pain. This time, the second elder injected double the amount of divine power into the long sword. Ow! Following an earth-shattering howl, a huge bloody gash appeared on the Dark Tiger King's tail. It was so painful that it quickly retracted its tail. The next second, the second elder regained his freedom. The second elder, who had regained his freedom, did not continue to attack. Instead, he said provocatively, "Damn tiger, just you wait. I'll come back for you." With a flash, he teleported away from this place. Thanks the second elder, who was unfamiliar with this place, didn't dare to continue fighting. In addition, his wound was in great pain, so he was very afraid that their battle would attract other beasts. At that time, it would be difficult for him to escape. As the Dark Tiger King watched the second elder's back, it did not give chase. Instead, it took out a pill from its storage space and threw it into its mouth. It had obtained this pill from the little girl. Normally, it would not bear to use it. However, the old man had used too much force this time, and its tail had almost been cut in half. It had no choice but to use it. If its wife found out about this, she would be heartbroken to death. Cheng Xian and Ning Shan, who were in the garden, widened their eyes in shock and disbelief when they saw the battle between the second elder and the Dark Tiger King on the screen. Fengde, does that Shadow Tiger King have the strength of a reverent god level? Cheng Xian was a little speechless. This demonic training was too scary. He really didn't know where they had found a hierarch-level tiger. Ha! In the illusion heaven, I found the Umbra Tiger King to go through the devil training with them. It belongs to the instructor's side, so the illusion heaven will automatically adjust its strength to match the opponent's. In reality, the Tiger King only has the strength of a God King. Fengde explained with a smile. This illusion sky is truly too miraculous. By the way, where did you get this fantasy sky? Why have I never heard of such a divine weapon in the divine realm? Cheng Xian asked like a curious baby. Just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Moreover, even if someone else had such a divine weapon, how many of them would openly say it out? Fengde looked at Cheng Xian with disdain. This young master of the Cheng family could be quite naive sometimes. Hee, that's true. You still haven't told me where you got this thing? Don't tell me you have to keep it a secret. We're already so familiar with each other. Cheng Xian asked shamelessly. This fantasy sky was made by my young lady, specifically for devil training. It was originally prepared for us, but now it's been taken advantage of by the elders of the Ning family. Feng said with a little dissatisfaction. Many of them had never been to the illusory sky, but the old men of the Ning family were the first to try. What was more infuriating was that those old men didn't appreciate it. They always felt that they were trying to harm them. Sigh. Really, good intentions don't get rewarded. In addition, this illusory sky is divided into 3 realms. What you see now is only the first realm, which is also the easiest one. Moreover, the longer you stay in it, the more benefits you will get. How about it? Do you want to go in and try? Feng added, I want to go in and try, but what are the other 2 domains? Cheng Xian was extremely curious. In his opinion, this first layer domain could only increase the strength of Beastie, which was used to assist in training, to the same level as the opponent. It was a little strange, but there was nothing else. After all, any top family could afford to build such a training ground. Therefore, he really wanted to know what kind of training content the other 2 domains had. Haha, I don't know what the other 2 domains are. However, Miss said it would be very difficult, and I can only master the first level. Feng chuckled. Oh, then let me go in and try. Although Cheng Xian was a little disappointed, he also wanted to know what was going on in the first realm. Chapter 1647, The Warlike Tiger King, Breakthrough 3, I'll go in too. At this moment, Ningxuan also said, All right, Feng to place the illusionary sky in an open space in the garden. After watching Cheng Xian and Ningxuan walk in, he changed the illusionary sky to the size of an egg, then called out softly, Green Vessel. Then, he was kept into the bracelet by Qing Ju. Lying on the recliner in his bracelet, eating delicious food while watching every move on the screen, Feng suddenly realized that such a life seemed pretty good. He was becoming more and more like a supervisor. Hee. At this moment, the illusionary sky was bustling with activity. The people who had entered the fantasy sky together had basically split up. The Dark Tiger King and the other beasties were having a lot of fun. After the Dark Tiger King had sneaked up on several elders in succession, it had turned its attention to Bai Xian. On a high cliff, a black and a white, a man and a tiger, stood looking at each other. These 2 guys were the Dark Tiger King and Bai Xian. The Dark Tiger King blinked its large, watery eyes and looked at Bai Xian provocatively. Bai Xian's face was filled with a headache. He really didn't want to meet this troublesome tiger. Although he had only met the tiger once, he did not know why the tiger was so hostile to him. He did not seem to have provoked it. In fact, Bai Xian had never provoked the Dark Tiger King before, and he did not know this fellow. After all, there were many members of the White Tiger clan. It was impossible for them to know every tiger. However, the Umber Tiger King was petty. As a member of the Umber Tiger clan, he was hostile to the White Tiger clan. However, the Umber Tiger King was different. He liked to challenge impossible tasks. Otherwise, he would not have spent hundreds of years pursuing a white tiger. While he was pursuing his beloved wife, he had received many contemptuous looks from the White Tiger clan. He was even besieged by the White Tiger clan's annoying people many times. However, he persevered with his tenacious willpower and successfully returned with a beautiful tiger. This was definitely a major event that was worth showing off in his life. However, from then on, it had also developed a habit of looking for trouble with the White Tiger clan. As long as it saw a fellow from the White Tiger clan, it would want to challenge them. Thus, Bai Xian became the unlucky fellow of the White Tiger clan and was caught red-handed by the Dark Tiger King. As they were beasts that assisted in training, they were given the ability to grasp the location of their opponents here by the illusion sky. Although the range of their control was only 10,000 meters, it was enough to find a certain opponent. Little guy, let's get intimate. Looking at the White Tiger clan's opponent in front of him, the Darkness Tiger King's heart bloomed with joy. This was really great. It had not met a fellow from the White Tiger clan for a long time. Upon hearing the Dark Tiger King's words, Bai Xian's forehead dripped with cold sweat. Little fellow? Was he very small? Let's get intimate. Those who didn't know would think that they had some kind of unspeakable relationship. He thought to himself, but he did not say a word as he looked at the Dark Tiger King. Little brat, don't be afraid. For the sake of that little girl, I won't be too harsh. The Dark Tiger King promised with a smile. But I don't want to fight you. Bai Xian frowned slightly, his handsome face a little conflicted. No, if I catch you, you must fight me. Otherwise, it'll keep bothering you. The Dark Tiger King said shamelessly. AI, all right then. Bai Xian sighed helplessly. It seemed that he could not escape. Hee hee, this is more like it. Take my move. The Dark Tiger King leaped into the air, raising its huge claws and pouncing toward Bai Xian. Bai Xian dodged nimbly, avoiding the Dark Tiger King's sharp claws. However, he did not make a move. Instead, he continued to dodge the Dark Tiger King's attacks. Seeing this, the Dark Tiger King was enraged and roared loudly. Ow! You detestable little fellow! You dare to look down on me! Immediately after, the Dark Tiger King's claws rapidly pounced towards Bai Xian, leaving claw marks in the air. When they were almost at Bai Xian's chest, the Dark Tiger King's claws suddenly clawed at Bai Xian's lower body. The claws grazed Bai Xian's pants and left a few claw marks. Bai Xian was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. How could this gangster tiger attack him there? If he was really injured there, wouldn't he lose his sexual happiness for the rest of his life? After all, that position might not be cured even if he used the best healing pills. Seeing Bai Xian's pale face, the Dark Tiger King revealed a wretched smile and pounced several times, clawing at Bai Xian's important parts. Immediately, Bai Xian's anger was aroused. Thanks suddenly, a tiger's roar resounded through the sky, and Bai Xian transformed into his true form. A beautiful and majestic white tiger descended from the sky and pounced on the Shadow Tiger King in an extremely graceful manner. In an instant, the black and white tiger silhouettes were entangled together. The tiger's roar sounded in succession. Ow! The deafening roar of a tiger was accompanied by the image of a huge tiger. It was like lightning and a blade of light. It shuttled up and down, pouncing left and right, leaving huge claw marks in the void. Fonda lay on the recliner, his eyes filled with the close-up of the two huge tigers fighting each other without caring about their image. Suddenly, he widened his eyes in disbelief. Was that white tiger the elegant Bai Xian he knew? From the looks of it, he was really provoked by the Dark Tiger King. However, this Shadow Tiger King was indeed wretched. However, he liked it. When dealing with the enemy, one had to use all means possible, as long as the result was satisfactory. After a long time, on the screen, the Dark Tiger King and Bai Xian were tired from fighting. The two tigers who had yet to determine a winner each occupied a piece of territory to regulate their breathing. After staring at the light screen for a long time, Fonda also wanted a rest. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt a strange movement in the space. He saw countless spiritual qi crazily rushing toward the purple bamboo house where the young lady was in seclusion. Fonda's face was instantly filled with surprise because he knew that this meant that his mistress was about to break through. Just as Fonda had expected, Lung Ruoxue, who was in closed-door cultivation in the purple bamboo house, was indeed at the critical moment of her breakthrough. The demon, who had been quietly absorbing the spiritual energy in the space, had opened his eyes and was planning to protect Shue-er. This time, Shue-er's heaven-defying art should be about to break through. This was the main cultivation technique that Shue-er cultivated. Moreover, this breakthrough would be different from the past. The amount of spiritual qi that Shue-er needed would be unimaginable. Therefore, during this period of time, while he was in seclusion to absorb spiritual qi, he had deliberately left a trace of his divine sense outside to observe Shue-er's every move. He had already made preparations to support Shue-er at any time. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue's entire body was emitting a faint golden light. Within her dantian, there were countless strands of white spiritual energy that were thinner than a strand of hair. As it slowly circulated along his meridians, the light emitted by the pale white spiritual energy illuminated his entire dantian. After the tens of thousands of spiritual chi threads had circulated for 360 cycles, they were all converted into divine power and stored in her dantian. Then, countless spiritual chi was absorbed into her body, circulating and transforming again. At this moment, her body was like a bottomless abyss, crazily absorbing the spiritual chi in the space, causing the spiritual chi in the space to be lost at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a long time, the divine power in Lung Ruoxu's body finally showed signs of saturation. It gathered into a huge ball of spiritual energy and circulated in her dantian. Then, in one go, she began to break through the barrier of her rank advancement. After a long time, as the ball of spiritual energy in her body dissipated, Lung Ruoxu's beautiful face showed a hint of pain. The demon saw this and quickly placed his palms on Lung Ruoxu's back. At the same time, he continuously transferred the surging divine power in his body into Lung Ruoxu's body. Lung Ruoxu, who had received the support of a great amount of divine power, was like a small tree that had finally received rain after a long drought. She absorbed the delicious food to her heart's content and immediately launched a fierce attack on the barrier with all her might. Bang! With a crisp sound, the divine power in her body was rapidly drained. Lung Ruoxu had also broken through to the 7th level of the heaven-defying art. Following that, the divine power in her body was squeezed out of her. After breaking through, Lung Ruoxu started to absorb the spiritual energy in the medium day and night to replenish the spiritual energy in her body. On the other hand, the evildoer was smiling as he stood guard at the side. A few days later, Lung Ruoxu opened her beautiful eyes. The first thing that entered her vision was the evildoer's flawless face. Feeling the focus of his gaze, she did not hesitate to reach out her wolf claws and caress his smooth and tender face. Her face was more beautiful than a woman's, and her skin was better than many women's. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. The feeling was also good beyond words. Lung Ruoxu muttered to herself in satisfaction. However, what she was most satisfied with was that this man belonged to her. Chapter 1648. A beastie without an owner is a blade of grass. 1. Shui. Feeling Shui Er's movements, the evil demon laughed even more heartily. What could make him happier than the woman he liked being interested in him? Demon, let's go out, Lung Ruoxu said after she had touched him enough. All right, the demon nodded. Then, the two of them left the purple bamboo house hand in hand. As usual, Qingju was waiting outside the house. His black and bright eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. When he saw Lung Ruoxu coming out, he immediately threw himself into her arms and hugged her thigh tightly. Sister, I've missed you so much, Qingju said enthusiastically. However, his words made the evildoer unhappy. He picked up Green Vessel by the collar and said with a straight face and a slight displeasure, Why do you want my woman? The threat in his tone was obvious, but Green Vessel was not afraid of him. Your woman is my sister, Qingju reminded him nonchalantly. He knew that as long as his sister was backing him up, this man would not be able to do anything to him. Who asked him to be so young? He now deeply realized that being a child was not bad. But you can't just hug her. The demon gritted his teeth. Damn it. None of the people around Shui were real children. Even though some of them looked like children on the outside, they were actually old men who had lived for who knew how many years. Now, they actually wanted to snatch his woman just because they were small. No way. It was wrong. Not even a window. Sister, Qingju, who was suspended in midair by the demon, cried out pitifully as his black and bright eyes were filled with tears. Qingju, I'm going to undo the seal for you. Lung Ruoxu looked at the evildoer helplessly and changed the topic. With that, she ran to the seal as if she was running for her life. She then formed a seal with both her hands and performed all sorts of hand seals. As the space trembled, the spiritual chi in the space started to thin out. Following that, the spiritual qi in the space suddenly became dense again. The space also slowly stabilized. Lung Ruoxue knew that this was the evolution of the space after it was unsealed. At this moment, Qingju's favorite plot of land had expanded by almost 5 times. Qingju was so happy that he could not be bothered to fight for the demon's favor anymore. He struggled to escape from his grasp. Meanwhile, the little black dog that had appeared out of nowhere was also bouncing around Lung Ruoxue's feet. When Lung Ruoxue saw how happy Qingju was, she quickly grabbed him and asked, "Qingju, you haven't told me what new ability you have." "Sister, the ability I obtained this time is bewitchment. Hee. You'll have to experience it for yourself." After Qingju finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. Ugh! Lung Ruoxue was stunned when she heard Qingju's words. Bewitched. She focused her attention and quietly experienced it, only to suddenly discover that this bewitching heart could actually make people reveal the truth. To put it bluntly, it could make people tell the truth. Hee. She realized that this mind reading seemed to be easier than mind reading. Sometimes, reading one's mind might not be useful to one. However, once this bewitching spell was used, one could ask whatever one wanted. Furthermore, the other party would not be able to lie. This was a great tool for interrogating prisoners. Lung Ruoxue was very satisfied with this ability and could not help but reveal a charming smile. When the demon saw Lung Ruoxue smile, he could not help but break out in a cold sweat. However, he could not help but ask, "Schwerer, why are you smiling so evilly? Did you find something interesting?" Hee. Green Vessel's new ability was bewitchment, which meant that it could make people tell the truth. "Let's see which one of you still dares to lie to me," Lung Ruoxue said on purpose. "Thanks, Schwerer. We wouldn't dare to lie to you," the demon hurriedly said, and quietly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Woo! As expected, nothing good happened. No wonder he felt uneasy. However, he really did not lie to Schwerer. It was just that there are some things that he could not tell Schwerer now. That Schwerer would not use bewitchment to deal with him, right? It was scary just thinking about it. "Don't worry. I won't use bewitching hard on my own people," Lung Ruoxue promised with a smirk. She wasn't so arrogant as to not allow others to keep their secrets. Besides, this was also the greatest respect for others. Of course, enemies were an exception. The demon laughed foolishly and thought to himself, "That's good." Hearing Schweer's words, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. Lung Ruoxue laughed to herself when she saw the rare silly look on the demon's face. Suddenly, she noticed that there was someone else beside her from the corner of her eyes. She widened her eyes and asked, "Fonda, when did you arrive?" "Miss, am I invisible? Aren't you ignoring my existence too much?" When Fonda heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he widened his eyes in disbelief and said with a wronged and resentful expression, "Well, young miss is really too much. How could she do this?" Lung Ruoxue was a little embarrassed. She really didn't notice Fonda's presence. "By the way, Fonda, how's the training of the second elder and the others?" Lung Ruoxue quickly changed the topic. "They're all in the illusory sky now. Second elder and the others have been tortured badly." Fonda said gloomily, "How could Miss ignore my existence? I'm still feeling wronged." "Oh, let's go take a look at the situation," Lung Ruoxue said to the demon. Without waiting for the demon's agreement, she pulled him along and ran away, leaving behind a dejected Fonda. In front of the light screen in the spatial dimension, Lung Ruoxue and the demon stared at the situation inside without blinking. At this moment, the depressed Fonda had also walked over quietly and was intentionally swaying in front of Lung Ruoxue. "Fonda, you're blocking my view," Lung Ruoxue said as she suppressed her laughter. "Miss, I'm taller than Qingju. However, you've ignored it," Fonda complained. "Idiot. It's because I'm young that I can throw myself into my sister's arms. Can you do it? Do you dare?" Before Lung Ruoxue could reply, Qingju's voice rang in their ears. "Ugh, he really couldn't. and he didn't dare to. Fonda said. However, this was too much of a bully. Did being tall mean that he would be completely ignored? The facts prove that it was true. You're not allowed to throw yourself into Shui Heir's arms in the future. At this moment, the demon's voice rang out with a look of warning. Your sister, he's bullying me. Qingju did not want to go head-to-head with the evildoer, so he could only turn to Lung Ruoxue for help. Qingju, it'll have to trouble you to wake up the people and beasts who are in closed-door cultivation. I'm going out to advance. Lung Ruoxue did not want to get involved in their jealousy, so she gave Green Vessel something else to do. All right. Qingju glared at the demon and then disappeared from the spot. Miss, let Sueju and the rest come out of seclusion? Fonda asked curiously. Although Sueju and the others weren't able to break through to the high deity realm, they were on the verge of breaking through again. However, they shouldn't be able to break through to the next realm after such a short period of seclusion. Chapter 1649. A beastie without an owner is a blade of grass, too. I'm going to arrange for them to undergo demonic training in the illusionary sky. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Miss, I also want to go in. Fonda said hurriedly. Every day, he watched Cheng Wu and the others fight to their heart's content while he could only watch from the side. His hands were really itchy. Good. All of you go in. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Sister, Master. At this moment, several cheerful voices rang in Lung Ruoxue's ears. Following that, dozens of small, exquisite, and adorable mimicry beasts hung on her body. It had been a long time since the little beasts had seen her. They all fought to be the first to burrow into her arms. Those little beasts that did not manage to occupy an advantageous position looked at her pitifully with faces full of anticipation. Their eyes were still rippling with tears, causing Lung Ruoxue's heart to ache. May, baby, I missed you guys so much. Lung Ruoxue happily touched and hugged this and that. She simply couldn't bear to part with her adorable little fellows. Her beastie was really too adorable. Lovely master, we missed you too, the baby said with tears in its eyes. Originally, they could have advanced a long time ago, but no one was in a hurry to come out of seclusion. Instead, they were still working hard to absorb the spiritual qi in the space because they all wanted to improve their strength as soon as possible. No one wanted to drag their master down. Moreover, according to its conservative estimate, the spiritual qi absorbed by them during the seclusion should not be a problem for them to advance 2 levels. Master, the May also cried out with tears in her eyes. And Lung Ruoxue hugged the May tightly. In her heart, the May had always been the most considerate and sensible beastie. Although its strength was not the highest among all the beastie, the Mai's prestige among them was very high. This was something that she was happy to see. Let's go out and advance first. Lung Ruoxue spoke again after being close to the beasts for a while. Yes, yes. The beasts nodded in unison. Then, Lung Ruoxue brought them along with the demon to the garden in the main residence. As soon as they arrived at the garden of the main residence, the laws of heaven and earth for advancement descended. Lung Ruoxue took a closer look and saw that the May had advanced first. The other beasts were not to be outdone either. They each found their own place and waited for their advancement. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she quickly found a place to sit down cross-legged and activated all the divine power in her body, officially beginning her advancement. Not long after, dazzling laws of the world descended one after another. There were so many that it was impossible to tell who they belonged to, and this state lasted for a long time. Before the first wave of laws of heaven and earth disappeared, another wave of laws of heaven and earth descended. Lung Ruoxue and the beasts shared the benefits of advancing to the next realm, and they enjoyed the massive amount of energy that was bestowed upon them by their advancement. Originally, the spiritual energy within Lung Ruoxue's body was only enough for her to advance to the advanced level deity realm. However, with the spiritual energy from the spiritual beasts, Lung Ruoxue had actually advanced to the deity realm. This result made her extremely happy. The beastmen's gains were also not small. Feng Zhan and Bai Su had each advanced 3 ranks. Bai Su had advanced to become a Class 9 sacred beast, and his strength was equivalent to a divine emperor. Feng Zhan had advanced to Class 8, and Mei had advanced 4 ranks, becoming a Class 8 sacred beast. As for the old phoenixes who had been working hard at cultivating, they had all become Class 8 sacred beasts. Although they were still some distance away from their peak strength, they were already very satisfied to be able to recover to this level in such a short time. Thanks on the other hand, Baby and the other magical beasts gave Lung Ruoxue the biggest surprise. This was because they had actually advanced 5 ranks in a row, all of them becoming Class 7 sacred beasts. Although their strength was not the highest among the magical beasts, the fact that they had made such a huge improvement this time around made Lung Ruoxue the happiest. After the incident, Baby and the other beasts all proudly raised their little tails. Even their small steps were full of vigor. Lung Ruoxue laughed happily when she saw their smug expressions. Her own beasts were cute no matter how she looked at them. "My lovely master, we won't drag you down," Baby said with satisfaction. This time, they could finally hold their heads high. All along, their strength had been the lowest among the beasts. Although they still looked happy on the surface, in reality, they were not feeling good either. Otherwise, they would not have made up their minds to cultivate. Now, it seemed that their decision was wise. Although their strength was still at the bottom among the beasts, they could at least help their master. "Silly girl, you guys have never dragged me down," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Baby and the other beasts laughed foolishly. With these words from their lovely master, their boring cultivation was worth it. Just look at how you're doing. If it wasn't for Master's spiritual energy, which is beyond our imagination, would you have advanced 5 levels in a row? Stop dreaming. Feng Zhan couldn't bear to see his precious and the other beasties' smugness and poured a bucket of cold water on them without giving them face. It was very jealous. Originally, Baby and the other beasts were much weaker than it, but this time they were only 1 rank lower than it. How could its proud heart accept this? However, what made it even angrier was that Bai Su, that stupid cat, had actually advanced to become a 9th level sacred beast. This was something that it could not accept. As a result, after the advancement, it became depressed and anxious. "You damn bird, you're clearly envious, jealous, and hateful," Baby said through gritted teeth. It was angry, and the consequences were very serious. If it didn't teach this damn bird a lesson today, this bird would probably not know why the flowers were so red. After giving the other beasties a look, the beasties with Baby in the lead immediately pounced on the unhappy Feng Zhan. In an instant, the garden was in chaos. Feng Zhan, who was fighting alone, was being chased around by the treasure and the other beasts. He was still shouting, "Master, help me." However, their actions made Lung Ruoxue and the other beasts who had not joined the battle laugh happily. "Shuya, with them around, it's really lively." The demon hugged Lung Ruoxue in his arms and smiled. It had been a long time since the house was so lively. And Lung Ruoxue smiled and nodded. Such days were not bad. After a long time, after Baby and the other beasts had enough fun with Feng Zhan, they ran into Lung Ruoxue's arms to rest. This angered the demon so much that he glared at them. However, Baby and the other beasts were not afraid of him at all because someone would support them. "These hateful little things." The demon cursed in his heart, but he said, "Shwe, your beastie is getting more and more adorable." Of course, Lung Ruoxue nodded her head in agreement. However, the demon's words put the beasties on guard. "Shwe, aren't they supposed to enter the illusory sky?" The demon reminded. And, with a thought, Lung Ruoxue moved Huan Tian, Fonda, and the rest out of the bracelet. Chapter 1650. A beastie without an owner is a blade of grass. 3. All of you can go in. Lung Ruoxue laughed as she spoke. After she finished speaking, the illusion heaven released a strong light and sucked Fonda, the rest, and all the beasts into it. Seeing that all the light bulbs had disappeared, the evil demon, felt smug. However, his smugness did not last long as he heard Lung Ruoxua say, "Evildoer, let's go in and have some fun." Schwer, we've finally lost the third wheel. Do we still have to go in? The demon was a little unwilling. Silly, the fantasy sky is so big. It's not easy to meet them. Lung Ruoxua laughed as she coaxed. All right then. The demon nodded and held Lung Ruoxua's hand, afraid that she would leave him behind. The fantasy sky was a divine tool that Lung Ruoxua had painstakingly refined. Although it was only a high-grade divine tool now, as its master's abilities increased, the fantasy sky could also advance. As the master of the fantasy sky, Lung Ruoxua naturally did not need to be like Fengde, who could only monitor the situation inside the fantasy sky from the outside. In reality, she only needed to use her heart to sense, and she would know what the people inside were doing. After entering the fantasy sky, Lung Ruoxua first brought the evildoer around to take a look. In the illusion heaven, the second elder and the others were still fighting. The Dark Tiger King and Bai Xian were also in a confrontation. However, when Bai Xian's body was enveloped by the laws of the world that had advanced, the Dark Tiger King's eyes widened in disbelief. However, what surprised it even more was that after the laws of the world had disappeared, Bai Xian had actually advanced to become a 9th-level sacred beast. This had almost made its jaw drop. Fuck, what kind of person was this? It was wrong. What kind of beast is it? How did he suddenly advance? Moreover, his strength was suddenly higher than its own. How? How could it continue to fight? The Dark Tiger King was depressed. However, Bai Xian was equally baffled, his face full of confusion. When Lung Ruoxua and the demon appeared, they saw that the Dark Tiger King's face was filled with confusion, while Bai Xian's face was filled with confusion. The two beasties were staring at each other. Ha ha ha! Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but laugh out loud when she saw their cute and comical appearance. Master! At this moment, Bai Xian finally returned to his senses. When he saw Lung Ruoxua's cultivation, he immediately understood. No wonder he had advanced in rank for no reason. It turned out that the young miss had come out of seclusion. However, this advancement had given it too much of a shock. It had actually become a 9th-level sacred beast. This was far beyond its expectations. If it wasn't for its strong heart, it wouldn't have been able to withstand this stimulation. Little girl, you've become a deity. The Dark Tiger King also reacted, but its eyes were filled with resentment. Woo, this was really too much. It had cultivated for so long, but had not been able to advance to become a 9th-level sacred beast. However, the damn tiger in front of it had actually easily become the 9th-level sacred beast it had dreamed of. Could this be the difference between having a master and not having one? Could it be that a beastie without an owner was a blade of grass? The Dark Tiger King was extremely aggrieved. It was extremely jealous of Bai Xian's free gains. If Bai Xian's strength wasn't higher than its own, it would definitely bite the white tiger a few times without any hesitation. Fuck, they were really bullying beasts. The more it thought about it, the angrier it got. In the end, its resentful eyes actually welled up with tears. Immediately after, the Dark Tiger King let out and wow. It cried out loud, and as it cried, it used its big claws to hit the ground, crying like a pear blossom in the rain. Very pitiful. The Dark Tiger King's unbothered appearance as it cried bitterly made the two humans and one beast present at the scene have black lines all over their foreheads. What was this situation? Why did she suddenly start crying? The two humans and one beast were all confused. Tiger King, what the hell are you doing? Lung Ruoxua asked helplessly, her hand silently wiping away the cold sweat on her forehead. I. The Dark Tiger King raised its huge head and looked at Lung Ruoxua with tears in its eyes. It was so choked up that it could not complete its sentence. What's wrong with you? Lung Ruoxua asked carefully. The Dark Tiger King's way of thinking was strange to put it nicely, but to put it bluntly, it was like a spirit. Thus, she really could not guess what was wrong with it. I'm sad. The Dark Tiger King continued to sob. Are you missing your wife and children? Lung Ruoxue guessed. No. The Dark Tiger King was still sobbing. Then why are you crying? Lung Ruoxue didn't understand. In her eyes, the Dark Tiger King only cared about its wife and child. Since it wasn't crying for them, then what was it crying for? Did Bai Xian bully it? That shouldn't be the case. Bai Xian was not that kind of beast. Thanks, Lung Ruoxue's mind started to run wild. I want to advance. I want to become a 9th-level sacred beast. The Shadow Tiger King cried out. After it finished speaking, it fell to the ground and started crying again, causing Lung Ruoxue and the other two to be dumbfounded. As long as you work hard in your cultivation, you'll be able to reach the 9th level of the sacred beast realm sooner or later. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she consoled him. I know. I've always been working hard on my cultivation, but I don't understand why some beasts can be harvested without any work. Could it be that a beast without a master is a blade of grass? The Dark Tiger King roared in jealousy. At the same time, it glared at Bai Xian with wide eyes. Ugh! Bai Xian felt wronged after finding out the reason behind the Dark Tiger King's cries. This can't be blamed on it, right? Who asked it to have a genius master? It couldn't stop its master from advancing, could it? Moreover, since its master had advanced, wasn't it only natural that the beastie that was contracted to the master would benefit? Although it had gained a lot of benefits this time, which made it very overjoyed, this was really not something it could decide. Therefore, it felt that the Black Tiger's jealousy was inexplicable. However, as a fellow tiger, it would not show off in front of the Dark Tiger King just because it had advanced to become a 9th-level sacred beast. It was just that it did not know if the Black Tiger would appreciate it. Reality had proven that the Dark Tiger King hated the White Tiger clan. Even though Bai Xian had already hidden behind Lung Ruoxue and tried his best to reduce his presence, the Dark Tiger King was still dissatisfied and wanted to find fault with them. Why are you hiding? Now that you're stronger than me, you're still hiding. The Dark Tiger King angrily roared. The relationship between the Dark Tiger tribe and the White Tiger clan was not shallow. They all had the same ancestor. However, because they had undergone some kind of mutation, some of the self-proclaimed orthodox members of the Tiger clan looked down on them and even chased them out of the Tiger clan's territory. This had always been a pain in the hearts of the Dark Tiger tribe. As a result, whenever it saw a white tiger, it wanted to cause trouble, especially when this hateful white tiger had advanced to Class 9 Saint God Beast in front of it. The fire of anger in its heart was naturally even stronger. However, although the Dark Tiger King was very angry with Bai Xian did not want to become enemies with this Black Tiger. After all, they were all tigers. Even if they could not love each other, they should not kill each other. As such, it hid behind Lung Ruoxue with a peace of mind. No matter how much the Dark Tiger King clamored, it was as steady as Mount Tai and ignored it. You cowardly tiger, come out. Seeing that Bai Xian wasn't moving, the Dark Tiger King's anger grew. Tiger King, calm down. Lung Ruoxue looked at the agitated Dark Tiger King and reached out to pat its head, consoling it. Little girl, this is my grudge with the White Tiger clan. Don't interfere. The Dark Tiger King ignored Lung Ruoxue's hand that was placed on its head and roared. Hee hee. However, it is my beastie. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she reminded him. It doesn't matter. I just want to fight it. I won't hurt it. The Dark Tiger King promised. We've already fought many times. Bai Xian muttered softly. So what? Didn't you advance now? Let's fight again. Let me see your 9th-level sacred beast strength. The Dark Tiger King was furious. I really don't want to continue fighting with you. However, if you also want to advance to the 9th class, I can give you a good idea. Bai Xian said in understanding, sighing in his heart. It was all because of his advancement. It really didn't want to be entangled with this stubborn tiger. What idea? The Dark Tiger King was stunned and asked in a silly manner. It really wanted to advance to the 9th level of the sacred beast realm. Moreover, it believed that no other beast would not want to do so. Just find a master. My master is not bad. Bai Xian suggested. After hearing Bai Xian's words, the Dark Tiger King began to think seriously. Lung Ruoxue glared at Bai Xian, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This fellow had actually betrayed her, in order to avoid being pestered by the Dark Tiger King. The Dark Tiger King pondered for a long time, occasionally raising its head to look at Lung Ruoxue. It had spent quite some time with Lung Ruoxue, and Lung Ruoxue had done its wife and child a favor. If she recognized her as its master, it wouldn't reject her. However, it had always treated Lung Ruoxue as a junior and always called her a little girl. Now that it suddenly wanted to recognize her as its master, it felt a little weird. However, it was also very clear that it would be very difficult to find another human as pleasing to its eyes as Lung Ruoxue. Furthermore, it felt that it had gotten along quite well with Lung Ruoxue's subordinates. So, even though it was still a little conflicted about the change in its relationship with Lung Ruoxue, it was still happy to do so. After thinking it through, the Dark Tiger King said directly, "Little girl, I've decided to acknowledge you as my master. You can't refuse. Otherwise, it'll be angry." Its words were as domineering as ever, just like its personality, proud and full of confidence. However, there was a trace of nervousness in its bright eyes, which revealed its uneasiness at the moment. Chapter 1651. The Loyal Second Elder 1. Tiger King. We're friends. Are you really going to recognize me as your master? Lung Ruoxue looked at the Dark Tiger King and asked in a serious tone, I want to advance. A beastie without a master is so pitiful." The Dark Tiger King said with an aggrieved expression. The tears in its eyes were about to burst again. When Lung Ruoxue heard the Darkness Tiger King's words, she helplessly wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She thought to herself, this tiger is really honest. However, she had always had a good impression of this black tiger and liked its two babies. Although the Darkness Tiger King's master recognition had a certain purpose, it wasn't something that she couldn't accept. However, she also understood the Darkness Tiger King's crazy personality. She was afraid that it was just a temporary impulse. Tiger King, once you recognize a master, you will lose your freedom. Lung Ruoxue reminded. I want to advance, the Dark Tiger King said stubbornly. All right then, you can recognize your own master. Seeing that it had already made up its mind, Lung Ruoxue didn't decline. And the Shadow Tiger King nodded its large head. Then, as if it was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would go back on her words, it quickly signed a soul contract with her. Following the rules of the contract, the two of them officially became master beasts. Little girl, now I'm also your beastie. You have to work hard in your cultivation and strive to advance in rank as soon as possible. After the contract was completed, the Dark Tiger King urged him anxiously. Ugh! When Lung Ruoxue heard the Dark Tiger King's warning, she felt a little depressed. She really didn't know if the Dark Tiger King had found a cute and obedient beastie for her, or had she found a supervisor for her. However, no matter how he looked at it, the Shadow Tiger King did not seem to be cute at all. Sigh, forget it. She admitted it. Who asked her to be soft-hearted? Little girl. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was ignoring him, the Shadow Tiger King could not help but call out again. They'll work hard on my cultivation. Lung Ruoxue's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Then you should quickly go into seclusion. They'll train those old men well for you. The Dark Tiger King quickly said. Lung Ruoxue didn't expect the Dark Tiger King to be in such a hurry. She had just broken through, but it was urging her to go into closed-door cultivation immediately. Sigh, what the hell is this? After exchanging glances with the demon, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly, Demon, let's go. And the demon held back his laughter and nodded. However, just as the two of them were about to leave, they were stopped by the Dark Tiger King. Little girl, wait a minute. The Dark Tiger King said with a frown. What's the matter? Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with question marks. Little girl, you can go and cultivate in seclusion. This man has to stay. Her beauty was misleading. It will affect your cultivation speed. The Dark Tiger King reminded him earnestly. Thanks, the Dark Tiger King's words left Lung Ruoxue flabbergasted and at a loss for words. Whoa, she didn't hear wrongly, right? Why did he have to care about this tiger? He had just become her beastie, and now he wanted to break up the couple? At this moment, Bai Xian, who had been hiding behind Leng Ruoxue, felt a chill run down his spine. Cold sweat had already started to drip down his body, and he couldn't help but feel disgusted in his heart. Was this black tiger really looking for death? They didn't dare to provoke that demonic man. Moreover, after being Miss Beast for so long, it knew very well how much that demonic man liked to stick to Miss. Now, this black tiger actually despised that demonic man for delaying Miss cultivation. AI, it could already see the Dark Tiger King's miserable end. Repeat what you just said. The demon laughed. The expression on his face was very calm, making it impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. However, the calmer he was, the more uneasy Leng Ruoxue felt. I said that beauty is misleading. Even if you like the little girl, you can't delay her cultivation. The Dark Tiger King's reaction was a little slow. However, it could not help but think, isn't it clear enough? This human actually didn't understand. It seemed like he was really a pretty boy who only had good looks. It felt some disdain in its heart. How did I delay her cultivation? The evildoer asked shamelessly. Leng Ruoxue and Bai Xian, who were standing beside him, were so nervous that they did not even dare to breathe. They were afraid that the Tiger King would say something shocking that would enrage the evildoer and cause him to be unable to deal with it. With you around, how could this little girl have the mood to cultivate? That face of yours is a source of trouble. No, this little girl can't be charmed by you to the point that she doesn't want to improve. Her main task now is to cultivate hard. As for men and other things, they have to be ranked at the back. How about this? I've decided when the little girl advances to reverent God level, and I'll let you two meet again. As for now, don't come and disturb my family's little girl. The more the Dark Tiger King spoke, the more it felt that its words made sense. It had completely ignored the demon's increasingly dark expression and the cold aura that was exuding from his body. As for Leng Ruoxue and Bai Xian, they quietly left the dangerous zone. Reality proved that Leng Ruoxue and Bai Xian's foresight was wise. As soon as the Dark Tiger King's voice fell, the evildoer rushed to the front of the Dark Tiger King and grabbed the thick fur on its neck. He clenched his fist and ruthlessly swung it at its big head. Then a bang was heard. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of fists hitting flesh reverberated through the clouds, and the demon's fists rained down like raindrops. The Dark Tiger King, who wasn't mentally prepared, was stunned, and it couldn't come back to its senses for a long time. After a long time, by the time the Dark Tiger King reacted, Leng Ruoxue and the demon had already left. Only Bai Xian was looking at it from the side with a hint of sympathy. At this moment, the Dark Tiger King was covered in injuries. The blood on its body had already dyed half of its fur red and was dripping onto the ground along its fur. Its eyes were still a little dazed, and it seemed as if it had not fully regained consciousness. I was beaten up, the Dark Tiger King said in disbelief after a long while. Yup, you've been beaten up. Bai Xian nodded and couldn't help but add in his heart. He was beaten up so badly. How is this possible? Why didn't I retaliate? The Dark Tiger King was bewildered. Even if its reaction was slow, it was impossible for it to not retaliate after being hit, right? This was definitely not something it would do. It was extremely depressed. I don't know. Bai Xian lowered his head. He didn't want to express any opinion on the Dark Tiger King's beating. In fact, they were very unwilling to provoke that evildoer. Although he wouldn't do anything to them for the sake of the young miss, they were still very afraid that he would attack them from behind due to their intuition for danger. It was impossible to guard against that. Then why did he beat me up? I didn't offend him, did I? The Dark Tiger King said in an aggrieved manner. It didn't realize that it was its words that had angered the demon. Therefore, it felt extremely unbalanced to be beaten up for no reason. However, what it couldn't accept even more was that its strength was on par with that man's. Why would it stupidly allow the other party to beat it up? It could not understand. The Dark Tiger King's words left Bai Xian speechless. It had thought that this tiger was very smart. Only now did it realize that this Shadow Tiger King was not just an ordinary person. Who wouldn't be angry when they heard that the Tiger King had separated the husband and wife who were as close as glue and said that they could only meet after they had cultivated to the reverent god level? More importantly, with its understanding of the young miss and that devilish man, how could they be away from each other for too long? So, wasn't the Dark Tiger King asking for a beating by saying such words? It only had two words for the Tiger King now, and that was that it deserved it. Chapter 1652, The Loyal Second Elder, 2. I'm asking you a question. Why are you ignoring me? Seeing Bai Xian remained silent for a long time, the Darkness Tiger King couldn't help but become anxious. I don't have anything to say, Bai Xian said honestly. Why would I have nothing to say? You just need to tell me why he beat me up. Isn't that easy? The Dark Tiger King said, unwilling to let this go. You can ask whoever beat you up. I can't help you. Bai Xian said helplessly as he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He had originally thought that the Umber Tiger King was very smart. Only today did he realize that it was an idiot. It said the wrong thing and offended someone, but it still didn't know it and kept asking it why. Sigh. It really couldn't be bothered to argue with the Dark Tiger King anymore. It knew very well that if it really told the Dark Tiger King the reason, this tiger might continue to ask it for the truth. It was very busy and didn't have the time to answer this tiger's 100,000,000 At the thought of this, Bai Xian chose to teleport. AI, don't you run. Seeing that Bai Xian had disappeared, the Dark Tiger King anxiously stomped its paws. However, after just 2 stomps, it felt a piercing pain coming from its body. That demonic man was really heavy-handed. Oomph. It's best not to let it catch that evildoer. Otherwise, it'll definitely make him suffer. It thought to itself with hatred. Then it took out a healing pill and put it in its mouth. After eating the pill, its external injuries were cured, but it still felt a sharp pain. Fuck, what was going on? This was too strange. The Shadow Tiger King cursed in its heart before it limped and trembled as it left its spot. After Lung Roashua and the demon left, they went to a few other places to look around. However, the demon kept a straight face the entire time. Lung Roashua could not help but laugh in her heart when she saw this. It seemed like the demon was really angry. Although she also felt that the Dark Tiger King was a bit naggy, she did not feel too angry. Instead, she felt that it was funny. Who asked her to know the Dark Tiger King's weakness? Demon, don't be angry. No one will take the Tiger King's words seriously. Lung Ruashua smiled as she consoled him. That damn tiger, I won't let it go. I've only taught it a small lesson today, but it'll suffer in the future. The demon gritted his teeth. The poor Tiger King had no idea that his suggestion today had brought him a devil-like opponent. In the days to come, he would be in deep waters and burning fires. Lung Ruashua chuckled as she prayed for the Dark Tiger King in her heart. Poor fellow, I wish you good luck. Shwea, you're not allowed to help it. The demon looked at Lung Ruashua and warned. Don't worry, I'm on your side. Lung Ruashua promised. That's good. Shwea, let's go over there and sit for a while. The demon pointed at a huge rock and said in satisfaction. Thanks. Lung Ruashua nodded and pulled the evildoer to sit down with her. However, just as they sat down, they saw a person running towards them in a panic. And that person was none other than the Second Elder, who was in an extremely sorry state and covered in injuries. The Second Elder ran to the front. When he saw Lung Ruashua and the evildoer, the anger in his heart burned even more and he roared, Wretched girl, what are you doing here? I can't be here. I saw that this place is quite quiet and the environment is not bad, so I came here with my man for a walk. Lung Ruashua said with a smile. Strolling? Damn girl, you really don't know how high the sky is. Do you know how dangerous this place is? You actually dare to come here for a stroll? I think you really don't want our lives. The Second Elder roared in anger. This place is very dangerous? Lung Ruashua deliberately showed an expression of disbelief. Of course it's dangerous. Fuck, I really don't know what kind of place this is. It's actually filled with godly, venerable rank beasts. The second elder said unhappily. As long as he thought of this, he had no way to vent the gloominess in his heart. Moreover, he never knew that godly venerable rank beasties were so common that they could be found everywhere. They didn't even have the same kind. It was really infuriating. How could that be possible? Lung Roashua blinked her beautiful eyes, obviously not believing second elder's words. However, she was laughing in her heart. After the second elder and the others entered the illusionary sky, they would only think that this was a strange place and would not remember that they were undergoing devil training. This was also the special thing about the illusionary sky. This way, it also increased the sense of realism. Do you think I would lie to you? Wretched girl, if you don't want to die, then quickly leave. The second elder roared. Why don't you leave? Lung Roashua was very surprised. This old man actually told her to leave quickly. This really touched her. If I could leave, I would have run away long ago. You guys should leave this place quickly. The second elder urged anxiously. He could already feel the two hierarch rank beasts getting closer and closer. These two beasts were coming for him. Therefore, he was very loyal and did not want to implicate Lung Roashua. Although he did not like Lung Roashua very much, he could not abandon her and that evildoer at this time. Otherwise, not only would the master not let him off, he would also blame himself for this. As the second elder of the Ning family, although he had been dismissed, he was still a member of the family. However, he still had this awareness. If we leave just because you tell us to, how embarrassing would that be? Lung Roashua said with slight displeasure. Her words also angered second elder to death. Fuck. He finally knew what it meant to be unkind. These two beasts had started because of him. Initially, he did not want to implicate Lung Roashua and the demon, which was why he urged them to leave quickly. However, who knew that they would not appreciate his kindness. This made him feel a deep sense of powerlessness. However, just as the second elder was remorseful, the two beasts that had been chasing him relentlessly had arrived in front of them. One of the two beasts was a giant golden monkey with a golden body, while the other was a black and white bear-type beast that looked like a panda. Both of them were at reverent god level. When second elder saw them, his expression immediately turned serious, while the two beastie beasts looked at second elder with a smile on their faces. They even winked at him from time to time. However, second elder was a little nervous at the moment and was not in the mood to receive their flirtatious looks. Instead, he yelled at Lung Roashua and the demon, "You guys leave this place quickly. They'll be responsible for holding these two beasts back." He was very loyal and wanted to buy some time for Lung Roashua and the demon. After all, from his perspective, Lung Roashua and the demon were too weak. If they stayed here, not only would they not be of any help, they would only drag him down. They might even become the two beasts' dinner. No matter which option they chose, it was not something he wanted to see. More importantly, the two beasts had come after him. Hence, he could not let Lung Roashua and the demon suffer this undeserved calamity. Chapter 1653. The Loyal Second Elder 3. Second Elder, are you sure you can hold them back? Lung Roashua asked with a look of disbelief. Damn girl, it's better than all of us dying here. The second elder was furious. At this time, this wretched girl still wanted to go against him. I don't want to die here. Lung Roashua nodded. Then why don't you all leave quickly? The second elder shouted anxiously. Old man, our target is you. We won't kill innocent people. At this moment, the giant golden monkey spoke. However, his words made the second elder dumbfounded. Ugh, did that monkey mean that he was only looking for him? The second elder thought to himself as he came back to his senses. However, this fact also made him quite depressed. He really didn't know how he had caught the eyes of these two detestable beasts. Or was it that the power of a beauty was incomparably powerful? Compared to him, whether it was Lung Roashua or that demon, there were definitely rare beauties in this world. However, these beasts couldn't treat him differently just because of this, right? How could he endure this? The second elder, who had been very loyal to his friends, felt a little disgruntled at this moment. If those beasts were treated equally, then he would have sacrificed his life for the sake of Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer's escape. But what was going on now? If he had a choice, he would rather sacrifice his life than die in grievance because of his inferior strength. Sob, could his life not be so twisted? When he thought about this, he looked at Lung Ruoxue and the demon with some hidden bitterness. However, they did not even look at him in the eye. Instantly, the anger in his heart was ignited again. What do you want? The second elder's heart was in a state of balance as he shouted out in anger. Isn't it obvious? You're our prey? The giant golden monkey laughed evilly. It and the panda acted as if they didn't see Lung Ruoxue and the demon. All of their gazes were placed on the second elder. Prey? The second elder was exasperated. Ever since he had advanced to reverend god level, how long had it been since he had felt so aggrieved? In the Ning family, other than the position of the family head and the great elder, he could also be considered a big shot in the Ning family and the divine realm. However, he was now forced to a dead end by two beasts. Moreover, he originally wanted to do something good and die a worthy death, but these two evil-minded beasts refused to give him a chance. This made him so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. Fuck, how could there be such an infuriating beastie? Hee hee, don't be afraid, we'll be gentle to you. At this time, the panda also spoke. Its voice was very magnetic and very comfortable to the ear. However, the second elder was so angry that his face turned white. When Lung Ruoxue heard its words, she couldn't help but chuckle. Ha ha! These two little beasts were also quite interesting, as expected of the subordinates of that out-of-line tiger. Seeing Lung Ruoxue smile, the panda became a little embarrassed. It even lowered its head in embarrassment and kept playing with its claws. As expected, the second elder saw the panda's abnormal behavior and felt that his guess had become a fact. It seemed that being beautiful really had an advantage. He was a little jealous. In fact, he thought that he was not bad-looking, but it was obvious that he had not caught the eyes of these two guys. However, this was also good. He didn't want to be fancied by two beastie. However, it wasn't a good thing to be entangled by two powerful beastie. Sigh, what should he do? The second elder was very conflicted. He really wanted to find a chance to escape, but he was also a little afraid that these two beasts would vent their anger on Lung Ruoxue and the demon. Even though they said that they were only targeting him, if he really ran away, that might not be the case. Furthermore, he was well aware that Lung Ruoxue and the demon would definitely not be able to run as fast as him. The second elder furrowed his brows as he struggled. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue kindly reminded him, Second elder, if you find an opportunity, you better run. However, not only did her words not receive the second elder's gratitude, but it also received the second elder's angry glare. The second elder was still thinking in his heart, don't I know how to run? I'm just afraid it'll implicate you. That detestable girl had actually put him in such a difficult position. Whoa, MMH. Old man, hurry up and run. We promise we won't cause them any trouble. The giant golden monkey interrupted. Thanks, wretched girl. They'll be leaving first. You guys take care. After thinking for a moment, the second elder roared angrily and disappeared from his spot. Seeing that second elder had left, the giant golden monkey and panda bowed to Lung Ruoxue and chased after him. Shwea, the third will is finally gone. The demon said happily. And Lung Ruoxue nodded her head, but she was laughing evilly in her heart. The second elder was going to be out of luck, because in the direction he was going, there were two beastie waiting for him. Shwea, why didn't you let those two beastie fight here? Let's watch the fun. The demon was a little regretful. He really wanted to see the scene of the reverent god being beaten up by a group of beasts. It's not good to fight here. It's fine if we don't help, but it doesn't seem right if we just watch from the side. However, the place he's going to is even more dangerous than this. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Ha! The second elder must be very depressed. The demon said with a gloating smile. Although he really wanted to watch the battle, he would rather not do it for the sake of the second elder's face. And Lung Ruoxue nodded. This time, second elder wouldn't just be depressed. The two of them sat on a huge rock to rest. As Lung Ruoxue had expected, second elder was being beaten up by 5 beasts. The second elder looked at the orcs surrounding him and smirking at him. The depression in his heart could no longer be described with words. Fuck, why isn't there any tofu here? It'd be better for him to bump into tofu than to be tortured to death by 5 godly venerable rank orcs, right? Originally, there were only 2 beasts chasing him. Who knew that after teleporting here, he would encounter 2 more? Before he could fight with the 4 beasts, another beast came out of nowhere. This increased the number of godly venerable rank beasts from 2 to 5. Sob, even the family head would be depressed if he encountered such an unfortunate event. At this time, the 5 beasts all released their own pressure. The 5 layers of pressure made the second elder feel heavy, and his breathing was a little difficult. Although the 5 beasts had not started to attack, he could already feel the threat of death. Moreover, he had lived for so long and experienced countless battles, but he had never felt so close to death in any battle. Brothers, let's go together. The golden monkey laughed and gave the other 4 beasties a look. Then, the 5 beasties the size of small hills charged towards the second elder. In an instant, several claw marks were left on the second elder's body. Bright red blood dripped from the wounds to the ground. The second elder trembled in pain, and his legs were weak. However, this also ignited the second elder's fighting spirit. Since there was no way out, he might as well fight to the death. If he could kill 1 or 2 beasts, he would not die in vain. With this thought in mind, the second elder's aura changed greatly. He held the long sword in his hand and poured his divine power into it as he swung it into the air. Thousands of sword lights were drawn out. After turning in the air, they pounced towards the 5 beastie. The sword light carried a terrifying pressure and was extremely sharp. The divine power contained in it was even more majestic. After it flew toward the 5 beasts, the 5 beasts could not help but tremble and instinctively feel fear. Although they had the cultivation base of a hierarch, it was only for show. In fact, the highest cultivation base among them was only at the monarch god level. A true hierarch like the second elder was beyond their reach. Therefore, even if they frightened the second elder with their hierarch level cultivation base, they were not as strong as a hierarch in their hearts. Therefore, when the second elder fought them with all his might, they were frightened and stood in place stupidly. They had even forgotten to dodge. It was clear that their mental fortitude was far inferior to the Dark Tiger King's. The 5 beasts had already felt the fear of death when the sword ray hit them. However, when they realized that the second elder's sword ray had only left a few bloody marks on their bodies, and that they were still alive, their confidence was instantly boosted, and they launched an attack on the second elder with their own strengths. In order to wash away the humiliation of their cowardice, the 5 beasts all used all their strength to fight with the second elder. In an instant, the second elder could feel that they were different from before and did not dare to let his guard down. As the second elder and the 5 beasts continued to exchange blows, the second elder slowly felt that his physical strength was not enough. When he ate the last pill to replenish his Shun power, he found an opening and teleported without thinking. Damn it, he ran away again. The giant golden monkey said gloomily. Chapter 1654. Second tier domain 1. Don't worry. The monk can run, but the temple can tee. He can't escape from our hands. Beastie, who looked like a panda, said with certainty. In fact, it was also quite depressed. It had thought that victory was in its grasp, but who knew that they would actually be frightened by that old man, causing them to lose the best opportunity to deal with him. Sigh. It seemed that they had not been trained enough. And the other beasts nodded and then ran in the same direction. The second elder, who had teleported away, was already 1,000 miles away. He was sitting on a huge rock, panting heavily, his eyes carefully looking around. It was still all right. Those detestable beasts didn't chase after us, the second elder thought to himself. However, Just as this thought formed in his mind, he heard a familiar voice ring in his ear. Hee hee, old man, we're here. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 beastie appeared at the same time. Instantly, the second elder's heart sank. Woo! These fellows who refused to leave were really too bad. Why did they keep pestering him? He couldn't understand why he couldn't get rid of them. This really made him depressed. However, what he couldn't accept was that the 5 beasts' fur was smooth and shiny. The injuries on their bodies had obviously healed a long time ago. He looked at himself and saw that he was still covered in wounds and in a sorry state. This made him extremely depressed. However, even though he was depressed, he still had to put in 120,000% of his energy to deal with these 5 beastie. Why was his life so hard? All of you, come at me together. Don't waste my time. The second elder steeled his heart and said with determination, Old man, why are you so depressed? The giant golden monkey had a look of surprise on its face, as if it had just heard some heavenly words. Cut the crap. My time is very precious. All of you, come at me together and don't waste everyone's time. The second elder said in a bad mood. He was determined to die and wanted to fight these beasts to the death. Who knew that these detestable beasts would actually play around like this? It was really infuriating. But we want to play slowly. The giant golden monkey said in an infuriating manner. Ew. The second elder was so angry that he couldn't catch his breath and almost fainted. Old man, life is so precious. It's not right for you to take things too hard, the giant golden monkey said in a serious tone. Fuck, am I the one who can't take it? The second elder was so angry that he thought to himself, if it weren't for you guys being so persistent, why would I want to fight to the death? It's all because of you guys. Now, you're standing on the side and making sarcastic remarks. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Are you guys going to fight or not? The second elder asked, suppressing his anger. Fight. But we're not in a hurry. The giant golden monkey laughed evilly. Stop talking nonsense. The second elder roared and immediately launched an attack. The long sword in his hand danced in the air like a dragon. Then thousands of dragons rose into the air and charged straight at the 5 beastie. Although the 5 beastie were surprised, their mental fortitude was obviously much stronger. They looked at each other and scattered. This action made the dragons that were attacking them miss. However, the dragons formed by sword chi and divine power were not discouraged. They continued to chase and attack them. Thanks, this old man is really powerful. The giant golden monkey couldn't help but transmit his voice. That goes without saying. This is a genuine reverent god, not like us who are fake. Beastie, who looked like a panda, replied. Hee hee, so what if it's a second-rate product? We're reverent gods now. As long as we work together, we'll definitely be able to deal with this old man. Another beastie said, if the 5 of us can't even deal with him and the other brothers find out, we'll be laughed at. The giant golden monkey deeply agreed. Hence, this battle with this old man was a battle that concerned their reputation. Hence, they absolutely couldn't drop the ball. Then what are we waiting for? Let's attack together. The panda beastie said and gave the other beastie a look. Then, it was the first one to pounce towards the second elder. Seeing this, the other beastie also hurriedly attacked. Close combat. Long-range attack. The second elder was attacked from all 4 sides. He could defend the front, but he couldn't defend the back. He could defend the left side, but there were beasts attacking him from the right side. In the face of these shameless group attacks, the second elder was angry and anxious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only use all his skills to block and dodge left and right. After a long time, the second elder was on the verge of death due to the lack of physical and divine power. He lay on the ground weakly, his body full of injuries. The blood that flowed out dyed his clothes red while his opponent was still in high spirits, jumping up and down, waving his hands and legs as he watched from the side. The second elder could no longer be angry because he felt death approaching. He had lived for so long, but he had never been so close to death. He also felt despair. Was he really going to die here? Did he die in the hands of these beasts? He was so unwilling. You guys hurry up and do it. Although he was unwilling, the second elder still hoped that these beasts would give him a quick death. After all, a reverent god had the pride of a reverent god, and he could die, but he would not allow himself to be humiliated. If that's the case, then well, fulfill your wish. The five beastie looked at each other, and then they all teleported away. Ugh. The second elder was dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did those detestable beastie run away? The second elder, who had thought that he was going to die, was now at a loss. He did not know what the beasts were up to this time. Could it be that they had some bad idea again? At the thought of this, he suddenly became nervous. Fuck, don't torment him anymore. Just give him a quick death. Because he didn't know what the beasts were up to, the weak second elder lay on the ground, motionless. In fact, it was mainly because he had no strength in his body at the moment. He couldn't move even if he wanted to. However, after waiting for a long time, those beasts did not return. The second elder, who had gradually recovered some of his strength, slowly got up from the ground. Then he sat cross-legged and began to absorb the spiritual chi with rapt attention. He did not have any more pills to recover his divine power, so he could only rely on absorbing spiritual chi bit by bit to turn it into divine power. The injuries on his body also needed the nourishment of spiritual chi. Without any pills, all of this would take a long time. Therefore, he was most afraid of a sudden attack from the beasts. While he was absorbing the spiritual chi, he also split off a trace of his weak divine sense to vigilantly observe the situation around him, in case any danger came. While second elder was recovering as if he was facing a great enemy, Lung Ruoxua had already started her patrol of the illusion sky. Chapter 1655, Second Tier Domain 2. This time, she brought the evildoer to Chang Xian's side. Chang Xian, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed to regulate his breathing, felt something strange beside him and quickly opened his eyes. When he saw that it was Lung Ruoxua and that demonic man who had appeared beside him, his suspended heart was greatly relieved. Great Aunt, it's you? You scare me to death. Chang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he took a look at Lung Ruoxua's cultivation and widened his eyes in disbelief. Great Aunt? You've already reached the God realm? He's really abnormal. Chang Xian said, making a fuss. Chang Xian's words made Lung Ruoxua's forehead fill with black lines. Was she a pervert? She had always thought that she was just lucky. Great Aunt, let's quickly leave this place. It's very dangerous here. Chang Xian looked at the surroundings and continued carefully. You're injured, Lung Ruoxua reminded him. She knew that Chang Xian had forgotten that he was undergoing devilish training. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so alert. I know. After Chang Xian finished speaking, he took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into his mouth. Then he stood up. Great Aunt, let's quickly leave this place. Chang Xian urged. Since you have pills, why didn't you eat them before? Lung Ruoxua was speechless. I have to keep it. I don't know what kind of place this is, and when I can leave this place. Sigh. Chang Xian was very depressed. He had already consumed a lot of the pills in his hands. Therefore, unless he was seriously injured, he would not be willing to eat them. However, after seeing Lung Ruoxua, his confidence was restored. Great Aunt, you have a pill in your hand, right? Give me some. Chang Xian asked shamelessly. There is, but what if I give it to you? Lung Ruoxua said on purpose. I'm protecting you. Chang Xian said matter-of-factly. Young Master Cheng, haven't you heard of the saying, it's better to ask for help than to ask for help from others? I prefer to rely on myself rather than you protecting me. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. Great Aunt, just give me some. You can easily refine pills, but I can't. Chang Xian ignored Lung Ruoxua's rejection and pleaded with a bitter face. I can make it easily, but I need the herbs. Why don't you provide the materials, and it'll help you refine it? Lung Ruoxua chuckled as she suggested. She wasn't being petty. However, this was demonic training, after all. If she gave Chang Xian the pill, it would be extremely unfair to the others, especially to those elders who were struggling on the line of death. So, she could not open this back door, or else, what was the point of this demonic training? Great Aunt Cheng Xian's eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. However, Lung Ruoxue was unmoved. Instead, she smiled at Cheng Xian and said, "Young Master Cheng, you take care. Let's go take a look elsewhere." After she finished speaking, she pulled the evildoer and disappeared, leaving behind a furious Cheng Xian. Thanks. After leaving Cheng Xian's place, Lung Ruoxue brought the evildoer with her and left the fantasy sky. Sitting in the garden of the main residence, Lung Ruoxue and the demon enjoyed the images displayed on the screen as they ate the freshly baked desserts. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, Lung Ruoxue first made some adjustments to the rules of the demonic training. This was because during her previous inspection, she realized that many of the beasties were reluctant to kill. Sometimes, when they could clearly kill their opponents, they would just let them go. As a result, the meaning of the demonic training would be diluted. She was very clear that this was because those supporting beasties didn't want to end the demonic training too early. To put it bluntly, those beasties who loved to stir up trouble hadn't had enough fun yet. With this in mind, Lung Ruoxue adjusted the rules. Originally, the humans and beasts who participated in the training in the illusory sky would be sent out once they died, ending their demonic training. However, Lung Ruoxue had now adjusted the number of deaths to 3. Furthermore, even if they had died, they would not remember what had happened and would have to start from the beginning. On top of that, she had also warned the beasts not to show any mercy. Otherwise, they would be the ones to be punished. In fact, the reason why she was so strict was not because she wanted to see the second elder and the others die. She just wanted them to experience the threat of death. Only after experiencing the test of life and death would their minds be more determined and have the opportunity to accept the next training. Because the training after that would be even more terrifying. After some adjustments, the inside of the illusory sky was now as she had hoped. The enthusiasm for battle was high, especially for Beastie, who was helping with the auxiliary training. His desire for battle had reached a peak, and this situation was something she was very happy to see. Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer sat in the garden as usual. For the past 3 months, the evildoer's life had been very comfortable because there was no third wheel to disturb him and Shui Air's alone time. However, he knew very well that this kind of life would not last for long. Although he was a little depressed, he had no choice but to accept it. Suddenly, a silver light flashed in front of Lung Ruoxue and the demon. Following that, a half-grown old man appeared in front of them. This half-grown old man was the 19th elder who had just experienced 3 deaths and had been sent out of the illusion heaven. However, 19th elder still looked confused. He was clearly not used to it. Wasn't he dead? Why would he appear here? 19th elder's face was full of question marks. As his memories slowly recovered, the memories before his death also rushed into his mind like a tide. Suddenly, he remembered that he had died during the devil training. Moreover, the feeling of death was still fresh in his mind. 19th elder was stunned for a moment. Then, he felt a piercing pain in his body. A trace of sweet blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and his body fell down involuntarily. Looking at the unconscious 19th elder, Lung Ruoxue took out a healing pill and stuffed it into 19th elder's mouth. After a while, 19th elder opened his eyes. Although the injuries on his body had already healed, the 19th elder tragically discovered that his strength had actually regressed. Originally, his strength could be ranked in the upper middle level among the divine emperors, but now he was only at the early divine emperor level. This made him feel very pained. What kind of hellish training is this? The second elder said with a look of grief and indignation. I've been weakened because of this. He was so angry that he wished he could bite Lung Ruoxue a few times. However, Lung Ruoxue did not take his anger to heart and only said indifferently, "If you die, your strength will naturally decline." In fact, you should be glad that you didn't decline to the level of a divine king. 19th Elder was angered to death by Lung Ruoxu's words. His chest heaved up and down rapidly, and the finger he pointed at Lung Ruoxu was trembling. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.